Welcome to the Fantasy Audiobook. Ninja School Teacher, I Can Become Stronger by Teaching. Chapter 61. Special Training for Graduating Students and Outstanding Students. Sarutobi Hiruzen thought for a while and said, I think you have underestimated your ability. How about this, based on your special training plan, and then promote the genin who have graduated this year. If you are interested, you can join special training plan. After saying that, Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at Miyu with a smile and asked, Miyu, what do you think? Since the third generation master recognizes my ability so much, I will try my best. Miyu said respectfully. Miyu didn't mind that there were too many students. He wished he could teach hundreds of students a day. According to Miyu's inference, the number of students during lectures will also affect class rewards, so he will receive class rewards when he attends classes at the ninja school. If the number of people in the class for Obito and the others did not meet the standard, there would be no class reward. If we gather all the fourth-year students, plus outstanding students from other classes and some graduated genin, there will be no problem in gathering more than 300 people. Miyu wondered if it would be better to reward more than 200 people for taking classes together. Miyu, if you complete this special training and improve the strength of students and genin, you don't have to wait until this year is over. You can be promoted to special junin after the special training, Sarutobi Hiruzen said with a smile. If Miyu can continue to replicate the teaching results of the first-year class, let alone the special junin, the monitor of the teacher's class, Sarutobi Hiruzen, can be replaced by Miyu. But when that time comes, he will have to have a good chat with his old friend Danzo about Miyu's identity. The teacher of the ninja school can be a member of the root, but the monitor of the teacher's class cannot be a member of the root. I will notify the ninja school to cooperate with your work, and this matter will be led by you, Sarutobi Hiruzen said. Miyu thanked her with a grateful face, then walked to the backyard to take Asma away to start this weekend's practice. Teacher Miyu, are you really going to have special training? Asma asked curiously. He happened to overhear the conversation between the two just now. Since the third generation master trusts me so much, then naturally I can't let him down, Miyu said with a smile on her face. I think the old man wants you to work as a coolie. You are a student of the same grade and a graduated genin. It will be very tiring to teach so many people at once, Asuma defended Miyu. And he didn't even say how the salary will be calculated during the special training period. If the salary is the same as during the normal period, Teacher Miyu, you will suffer a big loss. Hearing Asuma's words, Miyu thought that if Asma was also a disciple, his trust level would probably be quite high, and they all started to help Miyu talk about Sarutobi Hiruzen. I am not a teacher to make money, I just hope that students can be better, Miyu replied with a smile. If another teacher said this, Asuma would be dismissive and just think that this person is easy to do. But when Miyu said these words, Asma felt it was natural. If it was just for money, Miyu could definitely mess with him, there was no need to try her best to get him to train. Since Teacher Miyu really wants to organize the special training, I must take my teammates to study hard. Asuma said that he would bring his teammates to support Miyu. He is a genin who just graduated this year. To be fair, Asuma felt that Miyu might not be as strong as a junin, but his teaching ability was definitely much better than that of his junin teacher. Every time he finished practicing with Miyu on weekends, he felt that he had gained a lot. Going to study with Miyu for a month will definitely gain much more than their usual cultivation. Kakashi, let's have a competition full of youth and passion. I understand the truth, but can you please don't come in when I'm taking a shower next time? Kakashi, who was lying in the bathtub, looked at Metkai, who suddenly jumped out and said speechlessly. He was also convinced why the timing of Metkai's appearance was so hellish. Because I was practicing during the day, I came here at this time, Metkai explained. So can you go out first? Kakashi looked at Metkai, who was standing still and explaining, and his head hurt. Why does it feel like among his few friends, Nohara-rin is the only normal person? Metkai just walked out. When he reached the door, he looked back curiously, which made Kakashi unable to hold back and threw a bottle at Metek. Next time I will definitely set a trap at the bathroom door, Kakashi warned Metkai after taking a bath. Metkai ignored Kakashi's words, clenched his fists and shouted with blood on his face. Kakashi, let's have another passionate battle with all our strength. This time my strength is different from before. If you are careless, you will lose. Go to the yard, I hope your strength is as strong as your mouth. Kakashi said calmly. This time I won the first grade in the ninja school. Don't underestimate me. Metkai gave a thumbs up and laughed. Isn't that the kind of thing where you can get first place as long as you participate? Kakashi, who had never failed the ninja school exam, said calmly. The two walked into the courtyard, looked into each other's eyes and nodded to each other, and the battle began. Konoha's great whirlwind. Metkai knew that Kakashi was strong, so he immediately used the newly learned chakra burst technique to quickly rush in front of Kakashi and kick out the tornado kick. Although I haven't fully learned how to shave yet, I can still use my shaving skills to speed things up. This speed. Kakashi did not expect that Metkai could show such speed. He had no time to dodge and directly resisted Metkai's kick with his arm and took a few steps back. Metkai gained the upper hand and immediately rushed forward, trying to prevent Kakashi from using his ninjutsu through the ultimate attack rhythm. But Kakashi is not Obito, and Metkai surprisingly found that he did not take advantage of the taijutsu duel, and gradually fell into a disadvantage. Konoha Tornado. Kakashi, who gradually regained the situation, directly kicked Metkai away with a tornado kick, and used a teleportation technique to put the kunai directly on Metkai's neck. Kakashi, there's something wrong with you, Konoha Tornado. Metkai corrected him honestly. It's good if you can win the battle, Kakashi said as he put the kunai away. I have only seen Kai use it a few times, so how could he directly reproduce it perfectly? Kakashi just wanted to avenge Metki for breaking into the bathroom and make Metki depressed. It turned out that Metkai didn't react even when defeated by his physical skills. As expected of the old enemy I am chasing, he is too strong, Metkai said with a proud look on his face. Kakashi defeated him in this battle without even using ninjutsu. Kakashi didn't know what to say when he saw Metkai's expression. He didn't know and thought that Metkai had won the battle. I will become stronger next time I challenge you. Once again feeling that the relationship between the two of them was on fire, Metkai said hello to Kakashi and ran directly to exercise. Kai's strength has grown much faster recently, Kakashi thought as he looked at Metkai's retreating back. Metkai's performance today was a bit surprising to him. The kick at the beginning was true and made him a bit confused. This was something that could not have happened before. Akai, you look in good condition today. Miyu came to the place where she practiced daily on Sunday morning and found that Metkai had already arrived and was doing squats while holding a big stone. I think what you said before, Teacher Miyu, is very reasonable. Fighting with strong men in an upright manner can better transform training results into one's own strength, so last night Metkai told Miyu about his defeat in the challenge to Kakashi last night. The teacher is very happy that you can take the teacher's words into heart, Miyu said with a smile. As long as you keep working hard in the next time, teacher believes that you will surpass your best friends until you become the strongest, because you are a genius who works hard. A genius who works hard. Metkai's body perked up when he heard this word, and he felt that it was indeed the right word to describe him. With your help, Teacher Miyu, I am very confident in my strongest path, Metkai said with a bright smile. Every time he recalled the changes that had taken place in him, Metkai understood the importance of Miyu more and more. In fact, after being Miyu's disciples for a long time, even the relatively slow ones like Metkai and Obito noticed something was wrong. The strength that Miyu showed in front of them was not at the level that a Chunin teacher should have. But Metkai didn't care about this, he could feel that Miyu was sincerely good for him. Whenever their disciples' strength improved significantly, he felt that Miyu was happier than them. Apart from Miyu, he had only seen similar behavior in his father. With Teacher Miyu's teachings, I will defeat Kakashi sooner or later. Metkai was very confident in himself and Miyu. Disciple Metkai sets training tasks. Training mission. Defeat Kakashi. Reward. Depends on task completion and strength growth during the task. Looking at the training mission that finally popped up, Miyu nodded secretly. His idea was indeed correct. He had basically mastered the triggering mechanism of the training mission. More than 2 months have passed since the first training mission was triggered. Miyu learned some of the conditions for the training mission through constant testing. The training tasks mainly depend on the subjective wishes of the disciples. In situations like Metkai and Obito, it is easier to trigger, but it is difficult to stop water. Because Shisui is so invincible among his peers, no one puts pressure on him at all. He has no goal to surpass, and he just takes the first place casually. Yu once tried to get Zishui to give him a training mission, but after trying for a long time, he just couldn't get it out. Yu guessed that the training mission might not be able to trigger some long-term goals. Otherwise, with Shisui's character, it would not be impossible to create a mission that would change Uchiha's predicament. It may also be that the trust level is not high enough. Only trust level 3 can unlock training tasks. Maybe there will be new changes at trust level 4. Although there are no training tasks now, Yu still attaches great importance to Zishui. Perhaps because of Shisui's better talent and more training, Shisui's chakra has grown rapidly. Currently, the apprentice and returning master have given him the most chakra, more than Obito and Metkai combined. And Shisui is currently the only disciple who has triggered a strength growth reward. Yu estimated that it would take some time for Obito and Metkai to trigger. Not long after, Shisui also came over to prepare for training. Seeing that both of them had arrived, Yu called them together and started to teach how to shave. Obito was the last to arrive, and when he saw Metkai and Shisui learning to shave, he couldn't help feeling envious. But when he thought about the ticket fee and difficulty of that physical challenge, Obito had another headache. You have to dodge quickly while maintaining the forward speed. Obito was practicing the change of nature while thinking about how to solve this problem. If you don't solve the problems you encountered before, even if you challenge it again, you will only get 3 more test papers. Let's run an exercise at night from now on. It should be somewhat useful. Obito thought it could strengthen his legs. Stronger legs not only allow you to run faster, but also make you less likely to tire when using chakra. With the third Hokage, Sarutobi Hiruzen, coming forward, the special summer training was quickly settled. For 4th grade students, unless there are special circumstances, all students will return to school to receive special training. Outstanding students in other grades may refuse the special training invitation. The main training target of this special training is not the genin who graduated this year, nor the outstanding students of other grades, but the 4th-year students who will graduate soon. Ninja School directly sends teachers to the door to inform and complete communication with parents. Yu felt that in this cruel ninja world, there should be no parents who didn't want their children to be stronger. No matter how great Konoha's textbooks say ninjas are still an extremely dangerous profession. The news of the disappearance of the 3rd Kazekage has spread throughout Konoha. Anyone who understands the current structure of the ninja world knows that a war is inevitable. Thinking back to the previous friction between Kumogakure and Konoha, there is a high probability that Konoha will not be able to stay out of it. The specific selection of outstanding students in each grade was decided by Yu. 8 were selected for each grade, and he directly asked the teachers to select them based on their actual scores. Because Yu's first-year class is relatively dominant in the 1st grade, 4 people from Yu's class were selected, namely Shisui, Hongdu, Gangza-T, and Shenyu Izumo. Hongdu didn't know how others felt, but when the teacher came to tell her that she would have to undergo special summer training for another month, she was very confused. This vacation has not even lasted a week, why should I start school again? Fortunately for Hongdu, this summer special training only involves practical training and does not require theoretical classes, and it is still taught by her favorite teacher Yu. Outstanding students in grade almost never refuse. On the other hand, there were very few graduate genin who applied to enter the special training, only about a dozen of them. Yu can understand that most people will definitely trust their instructors after graduation more than the Chunin teachers in the ninja school. Having a suspicious boss can be troublesome. Because of this summer special training, Yu also conducted a separate report to report the whole story of this special training to Danzo. After all, this matter is not a big deal. It is the first time that the ninja school has held special summer training, and even the genin who graduated this year have been notified. Danzo seemed to feel that Yu's mission had been completed well, and while replying, he also rewarded Yu with the secret cultivation medicine from his roots. In his reply, Danzo said that Yu should perform as well as possible and let the 3rd generation directly promote Yu to become a special Junin. The rest is some meaningless PUA content. Yu can only say that the original owner may have feelings after reading it, and he will only hate Danzo even more after reading it. He didn't even want to use the secret medicine as a salary, after all, it was given to him by Danzo. What is it like to teach more than 300 people? He was stared at by more than 200 people at the same time. There was curiosity, expectation and doubt in those eyes. Yu had reason to believe that if she was a more introverted person, it would be difficult to speak when she was being stared at by so many eyes. But Yu is not an ordinary person. The more students there are, the happier and more excited he becomes. Hello everyone, I am Hanyu Muyu, the teacher in charge of this summer special training. Muyu introduced herself with a gentle smile. Although he is well known in the school, and there are classes where he has taught as a substitute, Muyu doesn't think everyone knows him or his face, so self-introduction is a must. Teacher Muyu. Some students who were familiar with Muyu greeted Muyu enthusiastically. Muyu smiled and nodded in response and then continued. I know that everyone has a lot of doubts in their minds about why we need to hold a special summer training after the holidays and what is the purpose of the special training. I can tell you clearly here that this special training has only one purpose, which is to improve the strength of the students participating in the special training and become more qualified ninjas in the future. Muyu didn't say anything if it was too cruel, such as dealing with possible war crises. After all, the war has not officially broken out. Even Konoha ninjas who have a sense of crisis will most likely not think that Konoha will gradually become the center of the war and be surrounded by the 4 major ninja villages. In what form will the special training be conducted? We genin cannot be allowed to undergo the same special training as the students. The strength of official ninjas and students are not at the same level. Namazuchi asked in unison. He was a teammate with Asma and was pulled over by Asma. Ningzu Rado felt that he had been deceived. How could a Chunin teacher be as powerful as Asuma claimed? I have arrangements for this, but don't underestimate the students of the ninja school. Muyu called out Zishui without answering the same question first. His name is Uchiha Shisui, and he is a student in the class 1 teach. He is currently in the 1st grade. You can fight with him to test the level of the ninja school students. Muyu said with a smile. Muyu had long expected that something like this would happen. Because the genin have seen more ninjas and been mentored by Junin, their mentality will be different when they face the students of the ninja school and the Chunin teachers. In the ninja world, the strong are respected, so Muyu's solution is also very rough. If you think the ninja school student is not good, then come and fight him to see if you can win. Seeing Shisui walking out calmly, Asuma's eyelids twitched uncontrollably as he recalled the scene of being tortured 2 months ago. He may never forget that scene for the rest of his life. He, a graduated genin, was defeated by a freshman. Rado, I absolutely can't bear it. I'm just a 1st-year student. Asuma said quietly to Rado. He couldn't wait to see Mingzu Lei's expression of disbelief after being defeated. He couldn't bear this pain alone. Isn't this bad? I'm just a 1st-year student. Yuhi Hong said softly. She felt that this was unethical. Then, as a senior graduate, I will come to see if the level of ninja school students has declined. Mizuzu walked out in unison. Muyu didn't care about calling out a 4th grader, but she actually called out a 1st grader. Bing Zudu suddenly felt underestimated. Coupled with Asma's fanning the flames, he couldn't help it anymore. The students all retreated to leave enough space for the two to fight. If you can't hold on any longer, just admit defeat. If you accidentally get hurt, don't blame me. Namazu Rado reminded him, taking out a kunai from his ninja bag. Thank you for reminding me, senior. I won't show off. Shisui politely thanked him and said. Seeing that Shisui knew how to respect his seniors, he was quite polite, and decided to wait until Shisui loses better, so it won't be too miserable. Obito had already covered his face, unable to bear to watch the cruel scene that followed. He knows the same and knows the strength of the same. Hinazakuri could not even defeat him now, so how could he be Shisui's opponent? This battle was a battle of abuse without any doubt, but the one who was abused was not the 1st-year Shisui, but the graduated Mizuchi. Come on Shisui, defeat that guy who looks down on the students in school. Enko squeezed to the front to watch the battle, cheering Shisui on. Gangzati and Shenyu Izumo also squeezed to the front to cheer with Hongdu. Uchiha Shisui, isn't that a first-year super genius? I heard that all his grades are perfect. The fourth-year students have heard of the name Shisui Genius. No matter how talented you are, you can't defeat an official genin in your first year, right? Although the students all hope that Shisui will win, most people are not optimistic about Shisui, because the victory of a first-year student against an official genin is too shocking. Start. Mu Yu, who acted as the temporary referee, shouted after the two of them finished their preparations. It's about to happen. Namazu reminded him in the same way, and then rushed towards Shisui with the kunai. Shisui calmly took out a kunai from his ninja bag and started a head-on collision. The sound of clanking kunai colliding continued. No matter how fierce the attack was, it was calmly blocked by Shisui. There's something wrong with the similarities. With this strength, speed, and reflexes, is this a first-year student? He moved his feet backwards, and quickly formed a combat clone technique to create 5 clones, trying to interfere with Shisui. Fire release. Fireball technique. Shisui formed a seal on the spot very calmly, and also used ninjutsu, spitting out a 3-meter-high fireball. Who is the student of the ninja school, me or him? Ningzu Reidu looked at the huge fireballs that kept coming, and then looked at the disembodied clone next to him, and his mind went blank. Fortunately, Hao's fireball didn't fly very fast, and after reacting, he ran with all his strength and escaped from the attack range. Just when Namashiri was thankful that he was out of the attack range of Go's fireball, a kunai stretched out from behind him and placed it on his neck. Feeling the cold edge of kunai, Minami realized that Shisui had appeared next to him without anyone noticing. I lost. I shouldn't underestimate the students of the ninja school. Naswashi admitted his failure. If Shisui was an enemy, he would be dead. Senior, I accept it. Shisui put away his kunai and said modestly. He is fully capable of directly killing Nizuri, but Nizuri's performance is not bad. The previous words were probably unintentional. Shisui didn't want to embarrass him too much, so he let it go. He might as well hold back. This fireball is not as good as the one he used on me before. Asuma thought in his heart. Senior, do you have a grudge against him? Why are you smiling so happily? Gang Ziti noticed that there was a person next to him who was smiling very happily. He thought he was a ninja school student who shared the same hatred, but he found out that he also had a forehead protector, which made him somewhat puzzled. No, I just remembered some happy things. Asma denied. And Zhu Lei returned to the team with a depressed look. He was not unconvinced by the defeat, because Shisui's strength was indeed very strong and he was no match. But he felt aggrieved by the defeat. He, an official genin, was defeated by a student who had just entered the ninja school, and he was defeated so cleanly. This Uchiha Shisui is too strong. He even defeated the official genin. Even if Kakashi is the same age, he may not be able to do better, right? There is another possibility, it is the opponent. Hearing the similar comments made by the students from the ninja school next to him made him feel even more ashamed. As Asuma walked back, he saw the unstoppable smile on Asuma's face. Asuma, do you know something? Nejire looked at Asuma with a suspicious look on his face. When he thought about it carefully, something was wrong. When Asuma brought them in for special training before, he said that Muyu was his tutor, so Asuma might know that there was a genius named Uchiha Shisui in Muyu's class. You know what you know. Asuma said, pretending to be stupid. I didn't know that first-year student was so powerful. He could take care of you in just 2 or 3 strokes. Hearing Asuma's words, I felt like I had been hit by another arrow. I was really embarrassed to be hit by a first-year student 2 or 3 times. Everyone, be quiet. Muyu pressed her palms down to signal everyone to stop discussing. We have students from 1st to 4th grade here, as well as genin who have graduated. We are all companions of the same village. I hope you can live in harmony. I will conduct a strength test on you later and then divide them into groups for special training. There are 3 groups ABC, and the 3 groups will receive different special training. Muyu answered the same question before. With so many students of different grades and some graduated genin, Muyu couldn't teach them all the same thing, so he chose to teach them in groups. Anyway, they are all in the same training ground. After teaching here, he will go to another group. With the help of shadow clones, he can teach the 3 groups as 3 students. The strength test is also very simple. that is, students are asked to demonstrate their level of basic ninja skills such as ninjutsu, taijutsu and shuriken throwing, and are then scored by the teacher. Yu called some teachers from the teacher's class over and completed the grading and specific grouping of more than 300 students in one class. Yu positioned Group A as a genin level group, prepared for graduating genin and outstanding ninja school students. The main special training contents include chakra control, physical fitness and taijutsu, and the teleportation technique. Group B is the outstanding students in the school. The main special training contents are 3 body techniques, chakra control, and body techniques. Group C is a group of ordinary students in the school. The content of special training is similar to that of Group B, but the teachings are shallower and the amount of training is relatively small. Yu took a look at the list of Group A and immediately saw many familiar names. Needless to say, Obito, Shisui, and Metkai. There are also Asuma, Yuhi Kurenai, Shiranui Genma, Shizune. Those who can enter Group A, except for Shisui, are basically either genin or 4th-year students entering the grade rankings. In Group B, Muyu only saw 3 acquaintances, one Ebisu, Moonlight Hayate and Nohara Rin. Ebisu's performance was a bit embarrassing. Compared to the other members of Group B, his level was very good, but he was a little worse than Group A. Moonlight Hayate had just entered the 3rd grade. Hongdu, Gangzati, and Shenyu Izumo, the 3 troubled brothers, went to Group C together, because the definition of outstanding and ordinary is scored according to 4th grade standards. Although the 3 of them can control thunder and lightning in the 1st grade, they are ordinary by the standards of the 4th grade. Yu first went to the area where Group A was and said, "Those of you who have completed the training of treading water and climbing trees stand on the right side, those of you who have only completed the training of climbing trees stand on the left, and those of you who have not completed the training of climbing trees stand in the middle." Most people walked to the left, a small number of people stood on the right, and a very small number of people stood in the middle. Then he asked the person standing on the left to try climbing a tree, and the person on the right to tread water. Looking at the students who were training, Yu roughly understood the level of chakra control of the students in Group A. Obito, Asuma, Shisui, and Metkai no longer need to practice treading water, and the others still have to practice. You don't have to complete the training, you just know a little bit. Yu said to a student who was climbing a tree. Immediately afterwards, Muyu asked Obito to perform what it meant to complete the training of climbing trees and treading water. Obito rushed up to the big tree, then put his feet close to the branches, and rotated his whole body 360 degrees for more than 10 times while the soles of his feet were firmly attached to the branches. Immediately afterwards, Obito performed a show of running freely on the water surface despite the interference of water dragon bombs. Only when you reach this level can you say you have completed your training. Yu pointed at Obito and said, "Currently, only Asuma, Shisui, and Obito among you can do this. I went to challenge it without any hesitation, but I didn't last for 3 minutes and started drinking water. Asuma, can you?" Bing Zurui felt that Yu might have overestimated Asuma's strength. "Ryotong, don't underestimate me. My chakra control ability is very strong." Asuma saw that his good brother didn't believe in him, so he went down to show off his skills. "Why do you feel that Asuma has secretly become stronger?" Bingzu Lei looked at Asuma, who was as steady as an old dog in the waves, and became confused. "Asuma, I feel like you've become more powerful," Yuhi Kurenai said honestly. "Haha, actually it's just average, it's all basic skills." Asuma heard Yuhi Kurenai's praise, and the corners of his mouth could no longer move down. He instantly felt that the water he drank during Muyu's training was not in vain. Chakra control is a compulsory course for ninjas. I hope all of you can stand on the right side in 2 weeks. Yu said after demonstrating it several times to the students in Group A. Then Yu went to Group B and asked the question again. However, the situation in Group B is different. Only Ebisu stands on the right, most people stand in the middle, and a few people stand on the left. Yu asked them to show their chakra control level, which was much worse than that of Group A just now. Except for Ebisu, Yu asked everyone else to do tree climbing training, while Ebisu continued to practice treading water. As for Group C, Yu did not continue to ask questions, but directly started teaching Group C physical skills. Mu Yu's training plan for Group C is to train their bodies and practice physical skills in the morning, and practice 3 body skills in the afternoon. When these two catch up, they can do chakra control exercises. Mu Yu left a shadow clone in each group. The main body patrolled back and forth between the 3 groups, and demonstrated and corrected any students who saw mistakes in their training. The morning passed quickly, and Mu Yu also announced that get out of class was over and it was lunch break. Complete a major lesson and settling the bill. Evaluation. B. Reward. Chakra plus 40. Complete the large-scale teaching for the first time and receive the reward, appraisal technique strengthening volume. Only B. Mu Yu commented that he was not too surprised. It was also the first time for him to teach so many people at the same time. He lacked experience and failed to do a lot of things. Moreover, the test grouping took a lot of time and he did not attend the whole class. However, Mu Yu was still very satisfied with the reward given by the big class. For the same level of evaluation, the reward for a large class is twice as much as for ordinary teaching. AB level evaluation for ordinary teaching only has 20 chakra points. On the surface, it seems a bit of a disadvantage to teach 40 people at 20 points and 300 people at 40 points. But in fact, Mu Yu couldn't complete 2 ordinary teachings at the same time, so she was also taking classes. Taking a big class would increase her upper limit. If the reward for the big class only satisfied Mu Yu, then the achievement reward for completing the big class for the first time was a surprise for Mu Yu. He had long felt that the identification technique was almost meaningless because there were too few things he could see. I don't know how far it can reach after strengthening, Mu Yu thought after using the strengthening scroll. After completing the strengthening paper, Mu Yu ran over to Lin's side and got an appraisal from Obito. Name: Uchiha Obito. Chakra: 750. Potential: S basic talent plus 6 bloodlines plus time and space talent. Skills: Great Fire Ball Technique entry, 100 500ths Great Dragon Fire Technique entry, 35 500ths Fire Attribute Chakra Property Change entry, 25 500ths. Evaluation: a genin with some fighting ability but a weak brain. It became a lot clearer all of a sudden. Mu Yu looked at Obito's panel for identification and nodded secretly. The enhanced appraisal technique was simply inferior to the previous appraisal technique. Not only could he see the specific composition of potential, but it could also display all the skills, and even the proficiency of the skills, allowing him to see the growth of his disciples more intuitively. Mu Yu even felt that the enhanced identification technique could also play a big role in battle. Ninja battles were very demanding for information. Then Mu Yu cast another identification technique on Metkai and Zishui. Name: Uchiha Shisui. Chakra: 800. Skills: The Art of Fireball entry, 235 hundredths The Art of Dragon Fire entry, 145 hundredths The Change of Fire Chakra Properties entry, 75 hundredths Shaving Not Yet Started, 61 hundredths. Potential: SS Basic Talent plus 6 Bloodlines. Name: Matt K. Chakra: 680. Skills: Konoha Whirlwind entry, 305 hundredths Konoha Great Whirlwind entry, 265 hundredths Shave Not Yet entry, 36 100ths. Potential: S Basic Talent plus Will. Those who are still learning can also see their proficiency, which makes Mu Yu feel good. After looking through it with the appraisal technique, Mu Yu was able to determine the potential assessment mechanism. Basic talents refer to the talents of a series of basic ninja abilities such as Ninja Phantasm. Superhuman will can improve potential evaluation. Special talents such as time and space can also improve potential evaluation. Then there are bloodline advantages such as 6 Paths Bloodline. Mu Yu found the skill proficiency display setting to be very interesting. Although the starting point was only 500 points, the difficulty of increasing proficiency was different due to the difficulty of ninjutsu. The proficiency of relatively simple taijutsu such as Konoha Whirlwind increases very quickly, but it is difficult to increase the level of fire escape such as Dragon Fire, and more difficult training such as Nature Change is even more difficult. After watching the students, Mu Yu also opened his own dashboard. He was a little curious about what his detailed skills would be like. Name: Hanyu Muyu. Skills: Fire Attribute Chakra Nature Change Mastery, 7,545 15,000ths Water Attribute Chakra Nature Change Mastery, 7,515,000ths Fire Release 2 Keku Mastery, 0 15,000ths Konoha Dragon God Mastery, 0 15,000ths. Mu Yu was a little surprised. They were all proficiency level rewards that the system exploded, but the proficiency levels were actually so different. The change in chakra properties seemed a bit special. She started with half the proficiency level of that level. He also practiced the changes in the properties of fire chakra when teaching his students, so it increased a bit, otherwise it would have been 7,000 and 5,000. As for 2 Keku and Konoha Dragon God, he was not surprised when it was revealed that Mu Yu had not used them yet. There is a 1-hour break at noon, and training starts again at 1 p.m. With the morning as a foundation, the afternoon teaching went much smoother. Whether it is guiding and training chakra control skills or teaching the 3-body technique, Mu Yu has good experience. He has gained successful experience in training chakra control skills with people like Obito Asuma, and the 3-body technique has a mastery level of 3-body technique and teaching skills. No wonder this teacher has such high popularity even though he has only been in school for a short time. He is indeed powerful, Mao Yuxian thought to herself as she looked at Mu Yu, who was explaining the transformation technique in detail. She compared the ninjutsu teacher in her class with Mu Yu, and felt that the teacher in her class was completely blown away. Mu Yu's explanations are more detailed and easy to understand, and the class atmosphere is also very good. Not only is he not stiff when interacting with students, but he also gives people a sense of comfort like a spring breeze. If class is compared to cooking, then an ordinary Chunin teacher would just tell the students what the main ingredients of the dish are, and then demonstrate the cooking on the spot, and that's it. And Mu Yu told the students all the ingredients and seasonings for the main dish. While cooking, she also told the students how to make it more delicious. If it was not done well, what might be the reason? Mu Yu tried his best to take care of most of the students in all classes, basically without stopping all afternoon. Even if no one asked him questions, Mu Yu took the initiative to find students' problems and correct them. After a day of classes like this, Mu Yu could only say that it was fortunate that he was a strong ninja. If an ordinary person played like this, he would be so exhausted that his voice would become hoarse after the whole day. When the time reached 5:30 p.m., Mu Yu announced that school was over. Complete a large class teaching. Evaluation. B. Reward. Chakra plus 40. Mu Yu was very pleased when she saw the reward from the system. I'm a little tired, but this is equivalent to double the experience bonus in the game, so I have to worry about it. With the support of summer special training, although it is a holiday, the actual benefits are greater than those of normal school classes. It will still be this training ground at 7:30 tomorrow morning. Mu Yu told the students tomorrow's class time. His special training plan is to start class at 7:30 in the morning and go to 12 o'clock, with a half-hour break in between. In the afternoon, he will have classes from 1 o'clock to 5:30, with a half-hour break in between. Teacher Mu Yu, do we still have to go to the forest? Obito asked Mu Yu after the others left. You can go home and eat first before going. Mu Yu gave the answer. There are many people in the special training area, and there are some things that he can't teach, so he just lets a few of them exercise normally. Obito thought that after one day of special training, he wouldn't have to go to Mu Yu's place to practice again. What? I don't want to learn how to shave through a challenge. Mu Yu tapped Obito's head with her finger and said, I really want to learn, but I feel a little tired. Obito said honestly. Unlike Shisui and Metkai, Obito rarely practiced all day except on weekends, so he was a little unaccustomed to this training rhythm. When you feel tired, you can rest directly and study what I teach seriously. Mu Yu explained with a smile. He has to take into account a lot of things when giving special training to all students, but when it comes to his disciples, there are no such restrictions. Then I will definitely study hard. See you, Teacher Mu Yu. Obito chuckled and said goodbye to Mu Yu, preparing to go home for dinner. Even if Mu Yu didn't explain that sentence, he would still go there after dinner. He could still tell clearly who was nice to him. After saying goodbye to her disciples, Mu Yu also returned to her home in the main city. He would read the sealing technique information given by Kushina every night, and try to solve problems by himself when he encountered problems. Only those who really had no idea would ask Minato or Kushina. In the past few days, he had not discussed the topic of sealing with the two of them. He had accumulated some problems and planned to solve them after dinner. After dinner, Miyu smoothly brought the topic to the practice of sealing and asked her questions. Naturally, questions from beginners like Miyu were not difficult for Minato and Kushina, and Miyu quickly got the answers he wanted. By the way, Miyu, if you have time, can you demonstrate the squirrel mandarin fish in detail again? We went back and tried it. It was completely different from what you did. It was too difficult. Kushina took the opportunity to ask. That will have to wait until 4 days later. I am currently helping students with special summer training and I don't have time from Monday to Friday. Miyu explained. Today is Tuesday, not counting today that has almost passed, there are still 3 days until Saturday. It's okay, you can teach us when you have time on Saturday. Kushina said she understood. Summer training. Isn't the ninja school closed for summer vacation now? Minato's focus was on another place. Not really, it's because I went to the Sandame's house before. Miyu told Minato and Kushina the whole story. This is not something worth keeping secret, it's better to say it. Special training for students who are about to graduate is indeed a good way to strengthen the strength of new genin. Minato nodded and said. Nowadays, the situation in the ninja world is chaotic. Even if a war breaks out, newly graduated genin will not be required to go to the battlefield, but it is always a good thing to have stronger strength and let new genin become qualified ninja as soon as possible. This also shows that the Sandame-sama values you very much and entrusts you with such an important task. Minato smiled gently. Looks like I'll have to call you Mugetsu Junin in a month. Kushina joked. Before, she had thought that Miyu could become a special Junin by practicing sealing skills if she practiced them seriously. It turned out that Miyu was a better teacher than she thought and could use her teaching ability to become a special Junin. You have to achieve results that the third generation is satisfied with before you can be promoted. I'm not sure that I can accomplish it. Even if I succeed, it won't be comparable to official Junin like Minato and Kushina. Miyu said modestly. How do you describe the position of special Junin? It cannot be ruled out that some special Junin have similar actual combat abilities as Junin, but most special Junin are just relatively strong Chunin with special abilities. For example, if Miyu becomes a special Junin after the special training, his relevant information will definitely be marked as a talent in education. However, Konoha has very high requirements for Junin. Even a special Junin can be regarded as entering the middle and high-level ranks of Konoha and is eligible to participate in Junin meetings. No matter what Junin he is, a Junin is better than a Chunin, and if you meet the standards in the future, you can continue to be promoted. Kushina's words were not rough. After solving the problem of the sealing technique and chatting with Kushina Minato for a while, Miyu went to the southern forest. When Miyu came, Shisui and Metkai had already arrived and were exercising. Come here, everyone, I will continue to explain to you the chakra burst technique of shaving. Miyu waved to the two of them. Before the two of them started shaving, Miyu would teach this physical technique during this period. After teaching, he will teach other ninjutsu and taijutsu. For Shisui, he can learn some other fire escape techniques to enhance his aggressiveness. For Metkai, Miyu is ready to teach him the breath of rock. First, breathing of the rock is very difficult. In the original Demon Slayer, breathing of the rock is the most difficult of the basic breathing techniques. Learn it early and practice it early. Second, the breathing method has a strong body building effect, allowing Metkai to better exercise his body. Both Metkai and Shisui immediately stopped training and ran to Miyu's side. 10 minutes after Miyu started teaching, Obito also came. Obito glanced with envy at Metkai and Shisui who were practicing the teleportation technique, and then began to practice nature changes under the guidance of Miyu's shadow clone. During the special training during the day, he basically worked on his physical fitness, which has exceeded his previous training volume. Practice hard for a week, and then try another taijutsu challenge. Obito thought in his mind. He didn't dare to challenge it rashly. If he lost, he would get 3 test papers for white-collar workers. The next day, in order to complete the physical challenge, Obito and Metkai borrowed weights and wore them on their bodies and began to run around the training ground frantically to exercise. They only rested when they really ran out of energy and continued to exercise after recovering their energy. Has Obito been practicing so hard? Asuma, who was resting, couldn't sit still when he saw Obito working so hard. Because she is the progress leader, Asuma's mentality is relatively relaxed. Muyu's requirement for them was to complete treading water and climbing trees in 2 weeks, but he had already completed it before coming to the special training. Even if he sat and did nothing for 2 weeks, he would still be qualified. Asuma saw that Obito, who was also ahead of the curve, was so diligent. Asuma became a little uneasy. He looked at Shisui again and found that Shisui was practicing fire escape ninjutsu. He felt that if Group A had a practical exam, he would not be able to secure second place, let alone first place. These people are practicing too diligently, as if taking a little more rest would cause any great loss. In the end, Asuma patted his butt and stood up, continuing to practice fire escape. With an extraordinary genius like Shisui, it's normal to not be able to win first place, but you can't lose to Obito. After losing to Shisui and Obito, will he have to lose to other students in school? Then he will lose his face. Now our enemy bewitching technique doesn't seem to be much different from the ordinary clone technique. During the break, Gangzati couldn't help but sigh. Yes, whether you become a monster or an opponent, there is not much difference from ordinary clone techniques when facing a master. Shenyu Izumo nodded and said. From class actual combat to grade actual combat, they watched 2 battles between Anko and Shisui. From their perspective, Anko had already done a good enough job, and only after creating a clone that looked like Shisui did he play with the real and fake Anko. Even so, Anko still failed to confuse Shisui and was easily defeated. I think we should follow my idea, instantly create a clone that is enough to attract attention, and then take advantage of the opportunity to take action. Shenyu Izumo felt that his idea was correct, but the monster he transformed now was not scary enough. But Izumo, you didn't even win against Anko. Gangzi denied. But I defeated you, Ziti. Shenyu Izumo said that at least he defeated Gangzati. If you have the ability to defeat Zishui, I think your idea is fine. Gangzati wanted to change the topic to Zishui. But Shenyu Izumo had already seen through Gangzati's thoughts, and laughed and said, I just need to win Zitiejun. You were beaten violently by Anko. I beat you. Shenyu Izumo seized the pain point and attacked. Steel couldn't stand it any longer and felt that the final exam was a major failure in his life. I think you two really don't understand anything. Ebisu, who was passing by, heard the conversation between the two and raised the nose pads of his sunglasses with one finger and said with disdain. What a waste for such a good idea to turn into a monster. Are you? Gangzati scratched his head in confusion. He seems to be the senior of Group B. Shenyu Izumo said softly. Because Ebisu was wearing sunglasses, Kamizuki Izumo had a certain impression of Ebisu. Senior, since you know that we don't understand, then come and give us some advice. Gangzati felt that he could brainstorm ideas. As he spoke, Gangzati took out a bag of potato chips and handed them to Ebisu. Ebisu looked around for a while and saw that no one was particularly close to them, then he accepted the potato chips. Ebisu sat down and waved to Izumo Kamizuki and Gangzati, motioning them to come closer. You have a good idea. The most important thing about the clone technique is to interfere with the enemy, but you shouldn't think about turning into a monster. Ebisu said to Kamizuki Izumo. Instead of turning into a monster, it is better to become. Ebisu's voice became much softer as he spoke, and the eyes of Kamizuki Izumo and Gangzati became wider and wider. Senior, are you a genius? Gangzati said with sincere admiration. He imagined the trick that Ebisu said to confuse the enemy, and he felt that he would definitely fall into it. Which man could withstand this kind of temptation? I think this technique has great potential. Kamizuki Izumo can't wait to develop it according to Ebisu's ideas. Ahem, if you use it, don't tell me it was my idea. Ebisu looked around for a while and said. Gangzati nodded. Then he asked, Senior, what's your name? My name is Gangzati. My name is Kamizuki Izumo. Kamizuki Izumo introduced himself. Ebisu. Ebisu stood up and said without looking back. Gangzati and Kamizuki Izumo silently wrote down their names and watched Ebisu leave, with respect in their eyes, which was a gift from preaching. Today Ebisu helped them open a door to a new world. When it was almost time for school to end in the afternoon, Miyu stopped the training and gathered everyone together. Starting from this week, there will be a strength test every week, and a practical test every 2 weeks. Those who excel in the test can be promoted to a higher group for training. Miyu said about the next special training about the test's arrangement. In the end, Miyu couldn't help but want to test whether the system could be stuck with bugs. Disciples who perform well in the exams will be rewarded. He has no rights in the ninja school and cannot affect the number of exams. However, he is fully responsible for this summer special training and can take the exams as he wants. Although he had thought that this might not work before, now that he had the ability to try, he still wanted to give it a try. Anyway, it doesn't matter if there is no reward. If it succeeds, it will be a huge benefit. What's the difference between the two? Hongdu asked aloud. The strength test does not require you to fight, but tests your mastery of ninjutsu, taijutsu, etc. in the form of an exam. The actual combat test is for the group members to fight according to the ninja school actual combat examination pattern. Miyu explained. Hongdu understood when Miyu said this. The strength test was just like the group test yesterday, and the actual combat test was a fight. After Miyu finished talking about the arrangements, it was time for get out of class to end. Miyu did not waste time and directly announced that school was over. Next, Miyu went back to the main city area to eat like yesterday, and then went to the southern forest to teach the disciples. However, after the disciples left, Miyu did not return to the main city, but continued to practice on her own. It's done. Miyu nodded with satisfaction as she looked at the shimmering chakra balls in her palms and the already started Rasengan in the skill bar. Although he knew the training process of the Rasengan and the changes in the form of chakra at the proficiency level, he spent too little time on the Rasengan, so he had not completed the training of the Rasengan until now. Miyu has to attend classes and teach disciples every day, and also has to study the sealing technique. Recently, he also added a breathing method to exercise. He will only start to develop the Rasengan when all the necessary tasks are completed. The reason why he doesn't pay much attention to the Rasengan is mainly because the Rasengan doesn't help much in improving his strength at this stage. The Rasengan consumes too much chakra. Don't look at it. The Rasengan is just a palm-sized chakra ball, but it contains highly compressed chakra, which requires a lot of chakra. For him now, the benefits of using the Rasengan are not as good as other advanced ninjutsu. Miyu's main purpose in developing the Rasengan was to help Minato develop the Rasengan in the future, so that Minato would owe him a favor. The Rasengan was inspired by the tailed beast Jade. It is impossible for Kushina to use the tailed beast Jade to fight Minato. Taking into account the time factor, it can only be inspired by meeting the tailed beast on the battlefield during the Third Ninja War. So Minato probably hasn't completed the development of the Rasengan yet. Before she had invincible strength, Miyu hoped to have many good friends. Secondly, although it is useless now, it does not mean that it will not be useful in the future. In the future, when he increases his chakra and masters the Sage mode, he can make Rasenshurikens and develop Rasengans with various properties. If this is not possible, it would be good to use them to reward his disciples. The chakra required to climb a tree is very subtle. Find that fixed feeling and maintain it unchanged so that you can stay attached to the tree. Water is flowing. Don't apply the experience of climbing trees to treading water. Pay attention to feeling the fluctuations of the water to continuously output chakra. You must practice more seals. The speed of seal formation is very important. If you can use ninjutsu one step faster, you have a better chance of winning. Miyu wandered around the training ground, constantly giving guidance to each group. It's Friday afternoon now. After a few days of big classes, Miyu is almost used to the rhythm of big classes. He is becoming more and more skilled and takes care of everyone as much as possible. Miyu also encouraged students to communicate more with each other. Sometimes a person can get inspiration by communicating with others about things that he cannot figure out by practicing hard. The class format of the summer special training is relatively free. Unlike the theoretical class, you can only sit in your seat and listen to the class. Students are gradually getting used to this kind of training. At first, Enko was a little unaccustomed to it, and she spent the whole day practicing. After a few days of experience, she felt that this was it. The rule was that there were 2 big classes in the morning and afternoon, with a half-hour break in between. But if you were really tired and sat down to rest, Muyu wouldn't care at all. The first strength test will be held on Monday afternoon. I really want to be promoted to Group B. Shisui is already in Group A. Wouldn't it be shameful for me, the second best in grade, to be in Group C all the time? During the break, Hongdu and the 2 good brothers told her what she thought. It's not that I don't support you, but Hongdu, you really don't have the strength to go to Group B right now. Gang Ziti said bluntly. I've seen Brother Ebisu's performance during training. He's not even the slightest bit better than you. Kamizuki Izumo nodded. Many 4th-year students were still in Group C. It was a bit whimsical for Anko to want to go to Group B after just a few days of special training. Who is Ebisu? Anko scratched her head. Why did the good brothers suddenly have an unknown eldest brother? The 4th-year senior is currently in Group B. He is very strong and a true genius. Gangzati replied. HMPH, you guys, just look down on me. I will practice hard over the weekend and I will show you my promotion when the time comes. Hongdo said with her hands on her hips. Gangzati and Shenyu Izumo feel bad. After all, you can't really roll it. You're just kidding, Hongdu, you are the strongest female student in our 1st grade, and you can easily take every test of your strength. Gangzati and Shenyu Izumo quickly spoke to comfort Hongdu, worried that Hongdu would really get something out of his training. If they were the first to enter Group B, it would be worse than if they failed the test. Complete a large class teaching. Evaluation. A. Rewards obtained. Earth escape earth flow wall, water escape water prison technique. Sure enough, it's also a double reward. Muyu thought to herself. When he saw that the B-level reward had double the chakra, he was thinking that the A-level reward should be 2 ninjutsu. In fact, Muyu would like the system to directly give 2 the same ninjutsu, so that many ninjutsu can be quickly upgraded to the proficiency level. But it's okay if the 2 are different. If you raid all day long, you can get 4 ninjutsu in one day. This is so efficient in learning ninjutsu. The disciple never has to worry about not learning ninjutsu. After class, Muyu returned to the main city and Kushina and the others decided to have a detailed teaching of squirrel mandarin fish on Saturday, and then returned to the southern forest to continue teaching the disciples. Metkai and Shisui are still working hard on the practice of shaving. In fact, the 2 of them have been able to use the shaving technique initially, but they are still new to the identification technique, but their proficiency is higher. Muyu understood the entry-level standards for appraisal. Being able to use it does not count as entry-level, but mastering it counts. For example, if you use a fireball but can only spit out sparks as big as a fist, this is obviously not an entry-level. Even though it was an inexperienced shave, Metkai was delighted. He used his special chakra technique to condense chakra on his legs several times in an instant and then exploded. In the blink of an eye, he appeared several meters away, and at the same time, he kicked a big tree with his legs at extremely high speed. The speed is much faster than before. If Kakashi was kicked like this, would he still be able to react? Metkai was very excited. However, he knew that Kakashi also knew the teleportation technique, so after being excited, Metkai practiced even harder. Disciple Metkai has practiced seriously under your guidance and gained a certain increase in strength, and received a reward, finger gun, proficient level. Akai also triggered it, only Obito is left. Muyu glanced at Obito who was practicing the change of chakra properties. Maybe it was stimulated by Metkai and Shisui who were learning to shave. Obito has also been diligent in training in the past few days. He has been running with weights during special training during the day. It is estimated that he will soon be able to receive promotion rewards. Muyu calmed down and began to check the memory of the finger gun in her mind. This reward is also one of the 6 moves. Like shaving, the finger gun has also been localized by the system and turned into a physical technique. Muyu found a big stone, condensed a large amount of chakra in her index finger according to the experience of practicing the finger gun in her mind, and then easily left several holes in the stone. It is quite similar to the hell thrust of the 3rd Raikage. Adding changes in the properties of thunder chakra should greatly enhance its power. Muyu came to the conclusion after the experiment. I wonder what rewards Obito can trigger. Muyu thought in her mind. If Obito's reward was also the 6th form, then he hoped it would be the moon step. There are very few means of flight in the ninja world, so being able to fly is a huge advantage. Although Yubu can't fly, it can jump high. After practicing the changes in chakra properties, Obito did not go home to rest, but asked Shisui and Metkai if they wanted to go for a night run together. The two readily agreed, and the three of them went on a night run together. Haha, Obito, have you finally realized that youth lies in exercise? Metkai gave Obito a thumbs up, his shining white teeth particularly dazzling at night. What's wrong with youth? I just want to learn the teleportation technique through physical training. Obito looked at Metkai with a black line. Every time he watched the two of them practicing the teleportation technique together while he practiced the nature change alone, Obito felt extremely uncomfortable. It's like living in the same dormitory. Your roommates have all finished their homework and are playing black games together, but you are still doing your homework alone. It's an incredible feeling. Come on, Teacher Muyu is definitely looking forward to you completing the challenge. Zishui said. He felt that it wasn't that Muyu didn't want to teach Obito, but that Muyu was laying the groundwork for teaching Obito how to shave. Well, I'll try it again on Sunday. After hearing Shisui's words, Obito became even more motivated. Isn't it just 100 questions? It can't stop him, Uchiha Obito, from moving forward. Saturday morning. Because he had made an appointment with Minato and the others to give a detailed lesson on the squirrel mandarin fish, Muyu sent his shadow clone to guide the disciples, while his real body was cooking for Minato Kushina, who was tutoring in the main city of Konoha. The reason why we don't change it and let the shadow clone teach the cooking disciples is mainly because the shadow clone does not have the blessing of chef skills. Muyuehui's ninjutsu shadow clones can be used, but only for skills such as chefs and professors. Shadow clones cannot enjoy the bonus. Muyu took out a fish and put it on the chopping board, letting Minato and Kushina look at it. While cutting the fish, he explained. To process the fish, first make a diagonal cut behind the gills and cut off the backbone. Muyu chopped off the fish head and then reminded. The cut fish head needs to be processed a little, and the gill cover is cut off. It will be shaped when it is fried. It will look much better when put on it. No wonder it doesn't look good when I do it. It turns out there is still this step. Kushina showed an expression of sudden realization. When handling the fish, Muyu told the two of them to control their strength and cut into 4/5 of the fish. Don't cut the skin, otherwise it would be considered a failure in appearance. When this step was reached, Muyu took out 2 fishes prepared in advance for Kushina and Minato to try. Minato's performance was okay. Maybe he was afraid of cutting the fish flesh, so it was a little shallow, and Kushina cut the fish skin directly. Haha, the fish meat is too soft and it was cut off in one go. Muyu, do you have any fish with firmer meat here? Kushina tried to find the reason from the fish. If the meat is too hard, will you eat it? Muyu showed a helpless smile. Fortunately, Muyu was well prepared and gave Kushina another fish to try. With this first experience, it took Kushina 3 cuts to cut through the fish skin, which was considered a great improvement. From now on, the step of cutting the fish will be left to you, Minato. Kushina said solemnly. In order not to waste Muyu's time, Kushina decided not to compete with the fish for the time being. The teaching continued. Muyu explained every step in great detail. After the explanation, the two of them were immediately asked to practice. This teaching was very slow. When the time reached noon, Muyu had not yet led Kushina and Minato to make a complete squirrel mandarin fish, but had almost completed the decomposition teaching. It wasn't until after 2 o'clock in the afternoon that Muyu led the two of them to make their own squirrel mandarin fish. It's complete to say it's done, but the appearance is quite different. Obviously I followed step by step, but why was there still so much difference in the end? Kushina felt that there was still a big gap between her and Minato's finished product compared to Muyu. After all, we are newbies. If we practice more, we should look better, Minato said. Minato was quite satisfied. He actually completed a dish that looked so complicated. If there were levels of difficulty in learning dishes, Minato felt that this squirrel mandarin fish dish would be at least a B level. He immediately added this dish to Jiraiya's menu when he returned. Lecture completed. Evaluation. B. Reward. Magic Mappo Tofu. Just when Muyu was about to say something, the system suddenly popped up a prompt. Teaching how to cook is considered teaching. Can teaching 2 people also count as a lecture reward? Two doubts suddenly popped up in Mu Yu's mind. He also taught before why the rewards were not triggered and why the lecture rewards were not triggered when teaching disciples. After thinking carefully, Mu Yu had some guesses. The judgment of lectures may not only be based on the number of people, but also the strength of the people being taught. Although he only taught Minato and Kushina, they were very strong. As for why it didn't trigger when teaching cooking before, Mu Yu felt that it should be because the time and depth of teaching were not enough. The results of this lecture were indeed a bit beyond Mu Yu's expectations, and the reward was a bit abstract. It was actually a recipe. If he remembered correctly, it was the recipe of the Chinese Little Master's family. Kushina and Minato each took a bite of the squirrel mandarin fish they made, and both showed smiles of satisfaction. Although it was a bit lumpy, the taste was still very good. However, during the meal, Mu Yu's squirrel and mandarin fish was eaten first. What he cooked was good, but Mu Yu's was so fragrant that I couldn't resist it. Mu Yu, you were really troublesome this time. You spent most of the day teaching us how to cook. Minato smiled gently. It's no trouble. You often help me solve my doubts about sealing techniques. Mu Yu responded with a smile, indicating that the two of them didn't need to care. Speaking of sealing techniques, Mu Yu, how are you doing with your three-finger seal training? Kushina asked. We already have some ideas now. Mu Yu shared her insights from the first 3 days of practice. The progress is pretty good, and the time it takes for the final successful practice should be about the same as I estimated. Kushina nodded after hearing this and gave her affirmation. Kushina would like to call Mu Yu the strongest when it comes to cooking, but when it comes to sealing techniques, Kushina feels that there should be no one stronger than her in the entire ninja world. I'll go back and write down some insights from my previous practice of sealing, and I'll give it to you after I finish. Kushina thought for a while and said. She is a person who knows how to repay kindness. Just now Mu Yu taught her and Minato how to cook so carefully and meticulously, and Kushina also liked it. That's really troublesome. Mu Yu was very satisfied. Mu Yu, you are still telling us, what trouble is this? You're welcome, it's a simple matter. Kushina laughed loudly. In the evening, Obito told Mu Yu in advance that he would apply to start the Taijutsu challenge again on Sunday. Are you ready? Mu Yu asked Obito with a smile, and slowly took out 3 test papers from the scroll. Looking at the 3 test papers that appeared in Mu Yu's hand, Obito's face suddenly fell. In any case, he didn't want to do the questions. But when Obito looked at Metkai and Shisui who were practicing shaving not far away, and then remembered their conversation yesterday, Obito instantly ignited his fighting spirit and said. Teacher Mu Yu, I'm ready, I will definitely succeed this time. He had been training hard for a week since his last defeat on Saturday, and Obito chose to believe in the results of his training. Seeing that Obito was so confident, Mu Yu gave Obito the ticket fee and started to arrange the venue. Early next morning, Obito came very early, arriving at the training place earlier than Shisui for the first time. After Obito did some warm-up exercises, Mu Yu took Obito to the challenge area he had arranged. It's still the same as before. Keep walking towards the east and you will see the end point. Mu Yu reminded. Obito nodded and sprinted in the direction Mu Yu pointed with all his strength. With the lesson learned from the last time, Obito did not look back at the shadow clone, but always paid attention to whether there were any traps near him. Relying on a cautious attitude, Obito missed a trap and arrived at the big pendulum level where he failed last time. A large number of thick trees swinging back and forth may appear here at any time. Obito didn't hesitate and rushed in, using his extremely fast speed to rush through without any injuries. Obito was used to running with weights, but after not carrying weights, Obito felt that his body was incredibly light, and his running speed suddenly became faster. After getting over the place where he failed last time, Obito suddenly felt much more relaxed, with a bright smile on his face. As long as I take it seriously, this challenge will be just that. However, Obito was not handsome for more than 3 seconds. Not long after he finished speaking, he fell directly into the big pit dug by Mu Yu. 1 point deducted. Mu Yu's warm voice reached Obito's ears. Obito quickly jumped out of the pit, and then ran all the way carefully, not daring to be careless again. The price of carelessness is too heavy. Not only do you have to start the challenge again, but you also have to add another 100 questions. The former is uncomfortable but acceptable, while the latter is a bit scary. After running cautiously for a long time, Obito saw a kunai stuck on a wooden stake. A flag was tied to the kunai, and the endpoint was written on the flag. Obito smiled brightly again. This is the end. There are still 2 points to be deducted. If you be careful, I am still very good. Obito walked directly towards kunai with steps that he did not recognize. At this time, Obito's heart was full of satisfaction. Through his hard training and extraordinary caution, he passed the difficulties. There was nothing more satisfying than this, and he felt full of accomplishment. But just when Obito was about to reach the kunai, Obito was suddenly hung up. What he didn't expect was that there was a trap next to the finish line. 1 point deducted. Miyu's voice reached Obito's ears again. Obito hurriedly got rid of the trap, not daring to laugh again. He was afraid that if he laughed again, he would lose the last point of laughter, so he laughed and got 3 test papers. Obito carefully checked his surroundings and then crossed the finish line. At this time, Miyu appeared and said, "Although there is only 1 point left, it is still a success." Ha ha ha, okay. Obito couldn't help but jump up and cheer, laughing heartily. He didn't have to worry about losing points and not having to answer 100 questions. I can finally learn to shave like Shisuiakai and the others. Who told you that you can learn to shave now? Miyu asked doubtfully. Didn't you say, Teacher Miyu, that you can learn it after completing the physical training challenge? Obito asked in confusion. Yes, you have completed the physical challenge, but you have only completed the first level of Forest Sprint, and you have not completed the second level yet. Miyu explained. Obito thought for a while, and finally found the relevant memory from a certain corner. There really is such a thing. The second level is called River Sprint. You need to rush from the river bank to the other side within the specified time without falling into the water. Miyu explained. Is it that simple? Obito showed a delighted expression. Isn't this just treading water? It's too simple for him now. I will interfere with the release of ninjutsu on the river to a certain extent after it starts. Miyu said with a smile. Or water dragon bomb? Obito asked. Miyu nodded. It is indeed a water dragon bomb, but the number is a little smaller. After receiving Miyu's affirmation, Obito's expression was very relaxed. Isn't it just water dragon bombing and treading water? The training has been completed long ago. Teacher Miyu, I want to start the second level of the challenge. Obito wanted to quickly complete the challenge and start shaving practice. By the way, Teacher Miyu, don't you have to pay the entrance fee for the second level? Obito suddenly remembered something important. If you clear the first level for the first time, you can challenge the second level for free. Under normal circumstances, the charges are the same as the first level. Miyu explained. The first time is free, that's great. Obito was very happy. This didn't mean he had to take 3 less test papers. Teacher Miyu, let's start quickly. Obito couldn't wait. Then Miyu took Obito to the river and explained. The river here is only 15 meters wide. You need to cross within 10 seconds without falling into the water. After talking to Obito, Miyu created more than 10 shadow clones and stood by the river, preparing to use ninjutsu. When Obito heard that it lasted 10 seconds at first, he was excited. The total distance was only 15 meters, but it actually lasted 10 seconds. But after Obito saw so many shadow clones of Miyu, Obito became a little uneasy and had a terrible suspicion in his mind. I saw more than a dozen Miyu forming seals neatly, and soon there were more than a dozen thick water dragons on the water that rushed back and forth quickly along the direction of the river. Obito was dumbfounded when he looked at the water dragon that almost filled the river. What the hell do you call this a certain degree of interference? With so many waterspout bombs rushing back and forth, he felt like there wasn't much room he could go through. Obito, are you ready? If you are, I will start timing. Miyu asked. If it wasn't right by the river, it would be much easier to perform water escape than in a waterless place. It would be difficult to complete such an operation with his current chakra. I'm ready, let's get started. Obito said bravely. We have already agreed with Miyu to start the challenge, even if it doesn't work, we have to do it. Obito was thinking crazily about how to complete this second level of challenge. Although I used to avoid water spray bombs while walking on the river during treading water training, the number of water spray bombs in treading water training is not at the same level as the number of the second level challenge. When training on treading water, there is only one waterspout on a river. Just be careful not to be knocked over by the waves caused by the rolling waterspout. As for this challenge, the entire surface of the river is filled with waterspout bombs, and finding a place to stay is a test of your eyesight. Start, Miyu shouted while using ninjutsu. After Obito heard Miyu's start, he had no choice but to plunge into the river full of water dragon bullets. Obito still had a trace of luck in his heart. He felt that he might be able to rush over with his eyes closed. After all, the distance was only 15 meters. However, the challenge that Miyu was thinking of was not something that could be passed just by luck. Obito had just advanced less than 3 meters when he was hit by a water dragon bomb that struck quickly and fell into the river. He took a big gulp of river water. It's a pity. The challenge failed. Miyu stopped the ninjutsu and quickly picked up Obito and said, "Teacher Miyu, your challenge is too difficult. How can you get past so many water dragon bullets?" Obito complained. He felt like he had just started and failed. There is plenty of time, a full 10 seconds, why don't you stop and observe the movement pattern of the water dragon bullet before starting to act? Miyu reminded. Obito does not think twice before acting, but it is possible to think twice before acting. He felt that even Obito would think carefully after suffering losses 3 times. "Teacher Miyu, let me try the challenge again." Obito felt that he had just been reckless when he heard Miyu's words. He only felt that the water dragon bullets in Manhi were shocked and did not pay attention to the details. "If you want to challenge again, you will need tickets for 100 questions. Are you sure you need to challenge now?" Miyu smiled and looked at Obito. Obito thought about the 3 test papers he had just received yesterday, and finally gave up. Despite Miyu's reminder, the difficulty of this level lies here, and it is very difficult to pass it. Once you fail to pass the level, it will be 100 questions for white-collar workers, and Obito doesn't want to do such a stupid thing. Then start practicing. Today I will teach you a special chakra application technique that can increase your speed. If you can practice well, you should be able to sprint through the river. Miyu said. "Teacher Miyu, you are my 6-path sage." Obito was very excited when he heard Miyu's words, and suddenly saw the dawn of victory again. "Then practice hard." Miyu tapped Obito's head with her fingers together. "I've been practicing hard." Obito chuckled. Then Miyu began to explain some of the shaving techniques to Obito. Miyu started her first strength test at 3:30 on Monday afternoon. This time he did not ask the teacher for help at the ninja school. Instead, he separated into 2 shadow clones, one of whom graded a group. Steel, Iron. The shadow clone Miyu took out a form and started calling the students to start the exam. Hearing his name, Gangziti stepped forward quickly. Gangziti quickly formed a seal and used the transformation technique, the clone technique, the substitute technique, then performed a set of physical movements, and finally took out his shuriken and threw it at the target 30 meters away. "Small progress has been made, keep working hard," Miyu commented after finishing the score. "Okay, thank you, Teacher Miyu." Hearing Miyu's compliment, Gangziti nodded with satisfaction. "Shenyu Izumo." Miyu continued to shout. Kamizuki Izumo also quickly stepped forward and began to show his strength. After Miyu finished scoring, she found that Shenyu Izumo and Gangziti were about the same in the group test, and their progress during the week was about the same. Maybe this is the bond between the Door God brothers, even the training progress must be kept the same. Mitarashi Anko. Miyu continued to shout. Hearing Miyu's voice, Hongdo trotted forward and greeted Miyu with a bright smile before starting to use ninjutsu to show her strength. Hearing Miyu call Hongdo's name, Shenyu Izuyun and Gangziti were a little nervous, and they didn't relax until they saw Hongdo's performance. Although he is stronger than them, his strength is limited. He should not be directly promoted to Group B. At most, his score will be higher. Izumo, in next week's actual combat test we will definitely be able to make a surprise move. Gangziti thought of the nearly perfect enemy baiting technique with a bright smile on his face. Yes, with Brother Ebisu's genius idea, we will definitely be able to sweep Group C. Kamizuki Izumo nodded. It's a pity that Brother Ebisu is so indifferent to fame and wealth that he doesn't want us to reveal that this genius idea came from him. Gangziti sighed. Brother Ebisu doesn't need to be famous, but we have to give it. If we can win a big victory, we will become famous together with Brother Ebisu. Kamizuki Izumo said that people must repay their kindness. Izumo, it has to be you, otherwise I will make a mistake. Gang Ziti patted Shenyu Izumo on the shoulder, and the two of them smiled together. They are not the same. Mu Yu asked the students whose names were read to come up for the test. He quickly walked to the examination area and started to use a soil escape ninjutsu. Then he pulled out a kunai and showed off a very fierce taijutsu movement. He quickly threw 3 shuriken at the target 50 meters away. Although not all hit the bullseye, they all hit. Then they ran towards the big tree in unison, walking on the big tree as if they were on flat ground. The chakra absorption was very stable. When treading water, they could withstand the waves caused by the water dragon bombs and did not fall into the water. Mu Yu thought for a moment and gave 7 points to Shinobi, 7 points to seals, 8 points to 7 points to body, 6 points to shuriken throwing, and 7 points to chakra control. The foundation of Bingzu is good, and the physical skills are also excellent, but other aspects are not so interesting. Mu Yu, a student in Group A, used a higher level scoring standard instead of the standard used when grouping. Uchiha Obito. Mu Yu continued to read the next person's name. It's a pity that Lin is in Group B. It would be better if she was in Group A. Obito thought after walking up and saying hello to Mu Yu. After challenging Mu Yu's physical skills challenge, Obito saw that the items in these exams were extremely simple, so it was a pity that he couldn't let Nohara Lin see him shine. The Great Fireball Jutsu. Obito decisively used his best fire escape ninjutsu, and sprayed out a 4-meter-high fireball with all his strength, which looked extremely terrifying. Since Mu Yu helped him improve the Go Fireball last time, Obito has basically been using the Go Fireball that looks more powerful, although it will waste more chakra. Are all the students in the ninja school so high level now? Namashiri couldn't help but be a little surprised to see Obito being able to use such amazing fire escape. It looks even more powerful than Uchiha Shisui's fireball last time. Are all the students of the Uchiha clan monsters? It feels even more powerful than Asuma's fire release. Yuhi Hong nodded and said. His fire escape is useless and he can't hit anyone. Asuma saw Yuhi Kurenai thinking that he was not good at it, so he quickly stood up and said. The flying speed of the fireball technique is relatively slow and it cannot change direction. It is usually used as a feint attack. Asuma explained. Go Fireball. Asuma can still understand a sentence with fire escape, but Asuma has nothing to say about Obito's performance later. Whether it is physical skills or other events, Obito's performance is very good, and he is not particularly partial. Metkai. After being called up, Metkai also used ninjutsu first in order, but he only mastered the 3-body jutsu. Finally, they saw a school student who was using the 3-body technique, but he wasn't very good at using it. Ningzu, Rado and Asuma smiled, but the next moment Metkai showed off his taijutsu, their smiles froze. It's so fast, it feels faster than yours. Asuma had a headache. She thought she had finally found a normal student in school, but it turned out to be a super specialist. Bingzu Leidong didn't say anything. He felt that he might not be able to beat Metkai in a purely physical duel. Asuma noticed that some students around him were very calm, as if they were used to seeing them, so Asuma stepped forward to ask. After asking Asuma, he found out that it turned out that Metkai was the number 1 in the 4th grade, and he was the one who defeated Obito. In an instant, Asuma felt that Metkai might be fighting harder than he had shown just now. Uchiha Shisui. When Mu Yu read Zishui's name, the atmosphere suddenly became quiet, and the students stared at Zishui who was walking forward. Since Shisui defeated Nezakuri on the first day of summer special training, the students all knew that there was such a ruthless person like Uchiha Shisui. Asuma didn't want to look at Shisui anymore. He knew that he must be the strongest without looking at him. After all, he was the one who could defeat him. As he expected, Shisui's performance in every test was perfect, and his overall performance easily surpassed everyone before him. Sarutobi Asuma. Asuma heard his own name when he least expected to hear it. If he takes the exam now, others will definitely compare Shisui with him, and this comparison won't work. But Asuma didn't want to run away. After struggling for a few seconds, he still went up. If you can't compare, just be incomparable. At least no one else knew about the big talk and then being abused. When get out of class was about to end, Miyu finished grading all the students, and only waited for the rankings to be completed before announcing the results to everyone. Will there be any rewards? Miyu was ranking the students while thinking that if there were rewards, she would take one test a day and one test every 3 days. The main thing is to collect as much wool as possible from the system. When get out of class time came, Miyu happened to tidy everything up. Miyu posted the compiled rankings and scores on the wooden board prepared in advance, and directly announced the end of get out of class. The students were not in a hurry to leave the training ground, but gathered around the bulletin board to check their results. The total score is only 24. Hongdu scratched her hair, not very satisfied. When she was in ninja school, her scores were usually above 35 points. When I looked at the promotion list below, it turned out that she was not there. It's not so much that there is no her, it's better to say that out of more than 300 people, only Ebisu has advanced, from Group B to Group A. Next to them, Shenyu Izumo and Gang Ziti were silent when they heard Hongdo's words, because they had not even broken through 20 points. They were also quickly attracted by the promotion list below. Brother Ebisu is indeed a genius. Gang Ziti admired Ebisu even more when he saw that only Ebisu was on the promotion list. Indeed, it is so desirable for one person to lead the show. Shenyu Izumo nodded. But when we completely perfect it this week, we will be the Ebisu brothers next week. Gang Ziti said with great enthusiasm. He has perfect grasp of the perfect art of confusing enemies. Even if his score is not high, he still sweeps everything in the actual combat examination. Shenyu Izumo also had the same idea as Gang Ziti, and both of them showed extremely expectant smiles. Ziti Izumo and the others are becoming more and more incomprehensible. Looking at the two silly people, Hongdu was a little confused. Asuma squeezed in and took a look at the rankings of Group A. Fortunately for him, he was ranked third in overall score, only lower than Shisui and Obito. I have to practice harder this week. Asuma felt a strong sense of urgency at this time. Although Metkai's test score is not high, he may be very strong in actual combat. After all, he defeated Obito in the final exam not long ago, and his teammates are not all similar actual combat players. Asuma wanted to compete in the actual combat test, but he had no idea for the time being. It failed. 20 minutes after the results were announced, there was no system message. Miyu finally learned the results of the preliminary test. The exams you set yourself will not work, at least the exams with 2 short time intervals will not work. Miyu could only regretfully cancel the exam plan of 1 day with 1 small test and 3 days with 1 big test. If exams don't reap the rewards, there's no point in doing so and it just makes students feel sick. While practicing at night, Zishui suddenly appeared in front of Miyu and said with a look of surprise. Teacher Miyu, I seem to have initially mastered shaving. Immediately afterwards, Zishui performed 2 shaves in front of Miyu. After reading it, Miyu was already sure, but she still gave Zishui a test, and it turned out that he was already qualified. Well, you have completed the practice of this technique. You can continue to learn other techniques after you get familiar with it. Miyu closed the panel and nodded. He planned to teach Shisui some more fire escape ninjutsu to increase his output. Shisui learns ninjutsu very quickly, so he can rest assured that Shisui will master more methods. As for Obito, Miyu is not currently planning to let him learn new fire escape ninjutsu. 1 How-Long Fire and 1 How Fireball are enough for the time being. If there are too many Obitos in the battle, he may have trouble choosing. Miyu looked at Metkai, who made an appraisal and found that Metkai's proficiency in shaving was still 30 years short of being able to get started. In this case, it will take another week or so to master it. Miyu thought as she closed the panel. Miyu looked at Metkai, then at Obito who was practicing speed increasing skills, and a good idea came to his mind. When Metkai and Obito trained together in the past, their physical skills improved rapidly. At that time, because they were all practicing taijutsu, the main purpose was to let them hit Hyuga Fire Gate, but Hyuga Fire Gate couldn't hit them. Now they are actually still practicing one thing, they are all practicing shaving. However, Obito has not practiced complete shaving for the time being. Essentially, they are practicing the teleportation technique to increase their speed. Yu called Obito and Metkai together and asked with a smile. Do you feel that the current learning efficiency is a bit slow? Metkai shook his head. He felt quite normal. Obito's eyes lit up. Since Yu asked, there must be a way to help them improve their learning efficiency, so Obito quickly answered. Yes, Teacher Muyu, your speed increasing technique is too difficult. Is there any way for you to learn it quickly? Yes, it depends on whether you want it or not. Yu nodded and said. Yes, of course. Obito looked at Muyu with longing eyes. He really wants to learn quickly to master the speed increasing skills, complete the challenge as soon as possible, and learn to shave. If I could master shaving quickly, I would want it too. Metkai couldn't resist the temptation to master shaving quickly. That's great. Let's run a lap first and show off your fastest speed. Yu said with a gentle smile. The two heard what Yu said. Although they were a little confused, they both followed Yu's words and exploded with all their strength to show their ultimate speed. Yu silently timed the two of them in her mind, and had a rough understanding of their speed. Yu then said, in that case, let's compete with each other to see who can break your own speed limit first. For every half second slower than your speed limit, you will have to do 5 more questions. For every half second faster than your speed limit, you will have to do 5 less questions. Whoever reaches the finish line first will have to do 30 less questions. Each person will start with 40 questions. Yu thought for a while and came up with the rules of the competition. Since you two have different speeds, your journey will be a little longer, Kai. Metkai has almost mastered shaving, but Obito hasn't even started to learn real shaving. If the distance is the same, Obito doesn't need to compare, he can just do the questions and be done. Obito was dumbfounded. He didn't expect Muyu's quick learning method to be such a terrifying training that would cause nightmares at night. As soon as he heard these rules, he felt like he was back to the special battle training at the end of the preparation period, with the familiar punishment mechanism and the familiar death at the beginning. If he fast-forwarded a little, he was about to enter the installment stage. Teacher Muyu, actually, I think the efficiency is quite high now. Obito wiped the cold sweat from his forehead and tried to save it. Metkai also showed an expression of approval and said, I think so. It's been less than a month since he got rid of fighting and doing questions, and Metkai doesn't want to go back to the days of doing questions every day. Well, I thought you would like the training method that combines theory and practical combat. Yu showed a disappointed expression, seeming a little sad. I also specially prepared the theoretical knowledge that you will learn next semester. You can only use it when school starts next semester. Obito felt a little uncomfortable. He also had a similar experience. It was obviously an idea that he had worked hard on for his companions, but it was easily rejected. If you think about it carefully, Teacher Muyu, your idea is really good. It can not only enhance speed, but also increase theoretical knowledge. In order to comfort Muyu, Obito said while crying in his heart. Even if you are doing the questions, you can't let Teacher Muyu down. Youth means more training and more questions. Metkai couldn't bear to see Muyu look sad, so he quickly changed his words, but when he thought about the days to come, he couldn't help but burst into tears. Then get ready to start the game. Muyu said with a gentle smile again. Seeing Muyu showing her usual Hexy-like smile again, Obito breathed a sigh of relief, and then he just wanted to give his mouth 2 hard slaps. You said why do you like to answer words so much? If you didn't answer Teacher Muyu's words when you first improved your cultivation efficiency, it would have been fine. Obito cursed in his heart. But the matter has come to this, and Obito has no choice. Since the competition cannot be avoided, the only thing to do is to minimize the damage to himself in the competition. Every half second you break the speed limit can reduce 5 questions. Although this seems very good, breaking the limit is not that simple. On the contrary, reaching the end first can reduce 30 questions in one breath. It is the most powerful way to reduce questions, and it does not necessarily require breaking the limit. Obviously what Obito can think of, and what Metkai can think of, is that the person who reaches the finish line first is the most comfortable. The two looked at each other and saw endless fighting spirit in each other's eyes. There is not only the desire to win, but also the fear of the problem. Muyu first planned the running route and the final point for the two of them, and then placed them in a position where both of them could hear the sound clearly. Get ready, start, Yu shouted loudly. The moment he heard Yu's shouting, Obito rushed out at a very fast speed without looking back. He had already used up all his strength to feed himself. As long as you get to that place, you'll be fine, you'll have to do less questions. Obito ran as fast as he could, his eyes turning red as he stared at the finish line. He had never longed to be somewhere so quickly. If someone asked Obito now where he wanted to go most, Obito would definitely answer without hesitation that it was the end of the race. Metkai's journey is longer than Obito's, so Obito can't see Metkai for the time being. But Obito soon noticed from the noise produced by his extremely fast running that Metkai's speed was closing in on him. Obito knew that he was not as fast as Metkai. If he was caught up, there was only one outcome, and that was losing. Obito gritted his teeth and kept thinking about the chakra technique that Yu taught him to increase his speed. He concentrated more chakra on his legs, hoping to accelerate further. Beyond him, surpass everyone, and become the strongest. Metkai felt like his whole body was burning. He kept moving forward at a high speed, trying to get closer to Obito. At this moment, all he could see was the endpoint and Obito not far away. Both of them were running with all their strength, and the closer they got to the finish line, the closer the distance between them became. When they were about to reach the finish line, Obito almost felt like the two of them were running parallel to each other. Whoosh! Suddenly, Metkai's figure disappeared from his side and appeared at the finish line. When Obito reached the end, he collapsed weakly to the ground, with endless regret in his heart. Obito couldn't help but pound the ground with his hand a few times. He just received 100 questions yesterday, and today he has to receive dozens more. I'm afraid he will have to go back to the days of doing questions in installments. He hates it. Obito surpassed half a second and reduced 5 questions, leaving 35 questions. Akai reached the finish line first and exceeded it by 1 second. There is no need to do the questions this time. Yu told the result of the competition. When Metkai heard that he didn't have to answer a single question, he smiled and waved his fist in celebration. Yu glanced at Metkai with the identification technique and found that the match just now directly increased Metkai's proficiency by 3 points. You may not be able to do math if you are in a hurry, but you can really learn ninjutsu faster if you are in a hurry. Yu nodded secretly in her heart. The effect of the game just now was very good, both of them broke through their first full-out running results. Drink water and take a rest. Yu pulled Obito up, patted the dust on his body, took out 2 bottles of water, handed one to Metkai, and opened the lid of the other and handed it to Obito. If this continues, Obito, you will be able to reach the river sprint level this week. Yu said. There are too many pretentious things in life, and Yu likes to give more poetry and distance to the lost people. Obito took the bottled water given by Yu, drank half of the bottle in one gulp, and resurrected with full blood. Akai, you won today, but don't be too happy. Tomorrow I will cross the finish line first. Obito wanted Metkai to suffer the same pain as him. Haha, I'm very motivated, but the one who reaches the finish line first must be me, Metkai. Metkai gave Obito a thumbs up. Yu stood with her hands behind her back, thinking that this was how his disciples should be. What makes Yu a little regretful is that currently it is not convenient for Shisui to participate in such a harmonious and friendly training. Part of it is the factor of strength, and the other part is that Shisui's theory is very strong and he is not afraid of solving problems at all. Moreover, Shisui also learned the Shadow Clone and could directly use the Shadow Clone to help with the questions. On Tuesday, Yu went to class as usual. At this time, he has completely mastered the rhythm of taking a large class, and can control the grading of the class like a normal class before, to decide whether to obtain chakra or ninjutsu. Yu chose to brush up on chakra in the morning, and Yu decided to brush up on ninjutsu in the afternoon. You have done a rare good thing this time. Teacher Muyu is indeed much better at these basic teachings than instructing Junin. Bingzu looked at the same students in Group B who have mastered tree climbing under Muyu's guidance. Treading water, he nodded and said. Those genin who didn't sign up will probably regret it to death if they find out. Both of them are a little envious of those students in school. If he had such a good teacher when he was in school, he would definitely be much stronger than he is now. Brother, I have tricked you before. Just believe me. Asma patted his shoulder and said. And Teacher Muyu is not only good at these basics, as long as Teacher Muyu knows it himself, he can teach it well. How do you know? Ningzu Lei did not react at first. After thinking about it, Amamizu Rado Ninja punched Asuma in the chest and said, I almost forgot that he is still your tutor. If Bing Zuyi is compared to an ordinary player, then Asma is a gold-earning player. Asuma chuckled, somewhat understanding the same idea, but if the tutor hadn't been Muyu, he would have kicked her away long ago. Although Teacher Muyu teaches well, the special training here is also very stressful. I feel really embarrassed to be pressed down by a group of school students. Yuri Hong's delicate little face showed a sad look. She didn't know how others felt, but she felt a little ashamed of being suppressed by the students at school. It's okay, Hong, we two will work hard together and strive to get 2 positions among the top 3. Asma said quickly. Why, do you think I'm not capable of competing with you? Bingzu Lei said with a raised eyebrow. Asuma really wanted Shisui to show up right now and kick this obstructive light bulb away. He couldn't understand the atmosphere, right? However, Ji Shui didn't come, but Muyu came and gave some instructions to the 3 of them. Busy time always passes quickly, and soon it's time for get out of class to end. Complete a large class teaching. Evaluation. A. Rewards obtained. Wind escape vacuum jade, earth escape earthly river. Both ninjutsu are pretty good, and Muyu is quite satisfied with today's harvest. Back in the main city, Mozuki happened to bump into Minato and Kushina who were about to go out. Muyu, we are going to have a meeting, remember to leave some food for us. Kushina and Muyu waved. Minato looked at Muyu helplessly. He was about to say that Muyu didn't have to cook their meals today. I will stir-fry a larger portion and cook yours. Then you can eat by yourselves. Muyu understood Minato's eyes, and then said with a gentle smile. It would be nice to be able to reap the benefits of just cooking a little more. Minato and Kushina came back earlier than Muyu expected. Just as Muyu was about to leave to train his disciples, Kushina and Minato knocked on the door outside. Muyu decided to go there later in the evening. There was Muyu's permanent shadow clone there and it would not affect the basic training. Having a meeting over dinner is definitely not a trivial matter. Those barbarians from the land of thunder must be killed. They gathered an army to attack Sunagakur village while the Sunagakur dragons were leaderless. When Kushina started complaining, Muyu basically knew what was going on. The gears of the Third Ninja War have officially begun to turn. In Muyu's impression, the Third Ninja World War could be said to be extremely chaotic. Everyone was attacking each other and then surrounding Konoha together. Kumogakur attacks Sunagakur and Konoha, Iwagakure attacks Konoha while stealing Kumogakur's butt, Sunagakur repels Kumogakur, and seeing everyone beating Konoha, he joins in. The Kiri ninja, who rarely participated in ninja wars, saw how busy it was. If I didn't go, wouldn't it look like I was out of the league, so he started to fight against Konoha. The case cage has disappeared, so let's fight Konoha. The Kumogakur barbarian is too hateful, so let's go fight Konoha. Anyway, if you don't know who to fight, just go fight Konoha. In the Third Ninja War, Konoha almost suffered like this. If it weren't for the mighty man who descended from the sky and the golden shining Namikaze Minato, the outcome of the Third Ninja World War would have been hard to say. 10,000 ninjas from Iwagakure besieged the Third Reikage, Yahiko was forced to death by Danzo Hanzo and Nagato was blackened, Uchiha Madara designed Obito to be blackened, and Mat opened the door to death and beat the 7 ninja swords into 3 auspicious treasures. Quote. Muyu recalled the major events that occurred during the Third Ninja World War, and could only lament the danger of the ninja world. If it develops according to the original work, Nohara Rin will be killed by Kakashi's Reikiri, Obito will directly turn black and insane, and Metkai's father will open the door to death and sacrifice himself in the end because he wants to protect Metkai. Only Shisui didn't seem to lose anything in the Third Ninja War, and he even made a name for himself as Shunshin Shisui. But since Shisui opened the Sharingan during the Third Ninja War, Muyu believes that something Shisui didn't want to see must have happened during this period. There is not much time to grow. Muyu remembered that not long before Obito turned black, Kakashi seemed to have just been promoted to Junin and became a Junin who was only 12 years old. Kakashi and Obito are the same age, and now Obito is only 8 years old. In other words, if you want to change everything, there are only 4 years left for him to develop. Although the specific time of the Metkai incident is not known, it probably happened when the war was in full swing, and the time would not be too different. The matter with Metkai was actually not bad. After all, it was just bad luck that he met the 7 ninja swordsmen. It took Muyu 3 or 4 years to develop, so he should be able to deal with it. Things are troublesome with Obito. On the surface, it looks like a tragedy caused by a normal war, but it is actually a man-made conspiracy. If he wants to change Obito's darkening situation, his opponent is not the Iwagakure ninja and Kurigakure ninja, but Uchiha Madara and Black Zetsu hiding in the dark. If he were to be optimistic, his opponent was actually just an old man who needed a tube to stay alive in a puddle of black mud. If he is not optimistic, his opponents are the reincarnation of Indra Chakra, Uchiha Madara, the only living opener of the Samsara Eye in the ninja world, and the third son of Kagaya Otsutsuki, the ancestor of Chakra. And he, Hanyu Mozuki, was just a Chunin teacher in the ninja school. Muyu, what are you doing? Kushina's voice awakened Muyu from her thoughts. Muyu sighed, and then explained, I was just wondering whether the war would affect us in Konoha. Konoha is not a soft persimmon like Sunagakure. If you want to go to war with Konoha, you have to think about the consequences. Kushina is confident in Konoha's strength. Hanyu's worries are not unreasonable. Once the war starts, anything can happen, Minato said in a deep voice. His thoughts were more pessimistic than Muyu's. If Muyu was just thinking about whether the war would spread to Konoha, Minato's idea was that the war would definitely spread to Konoha. In normal times, the title of the #1 ninja village in the ninja world can intimidate Xiao Xiao. Once the war begins, Konoha, which holds the title of #1, will easily become the target of those who are ambitious to make the village famous. If you say your ninja village is strong, no one will believe it, but if you can beat up the first ninja village, then you are indeed strong. After Minato and Kushina finished eating, Muyu also left the main city to teach his disciples. He first taught Metkai how to shave for a while, and then presided over Obito and Metkai's race today. Today, Metkai still maintained a slight advantage and won, but neither of them broke through the limit. Because Muyu's rule is that as long as the limit is exceeded, the new result will be the limit for the next competition, not the original limit data. It is naturally difficult to achieve new breakthroughs every day, and Muyu was not disappointed. However, this training method is indeed quite useful. The best evidence is that Metkai's proficiency has increased more than usual. Muyu stopped Zishui who was practicing and said, "Stop shaving practice for now. I will teach you a new fire escape ninjutsu today. The name of this ninjutsu is Fire Release, Impatience Flower Claw Red. It is AB level fire release. It has great lethality at short and medium distances." Muyu explained the ninjutsu she would teach next. If the teaching object is Obito, Muyu will first teach the Phoenix Fire technique and then teach the upgraded version of the Phoenix Claw Red. But the teaching subject is Ji Shui, and Ji Shui has a strong learning ability. Muyu doesn't have to worry about Ji Shui not learning quickly. Muyu brought Zishui to an open space. Fire Release, Impatience Flower Claws Red. The Muyu seal spit out a large mouthful of flames, and while spitting out the flames, he quickly threw out more than a dozen shurikens and rushed towards the wooden man in the open space. The shurikens passed through the flames and merged with the flames. The dozen shurikens instantly turned into more than a dozen small fireballs and hit the wooden man. The sharp shuriken cut off the wooden man's arm and penetrated the wooden man's body. The flames attached to the shuriken ignited the wooden man's body and turned it into ashes. The only thing that makes Impatience Flower Claw Red stronger than Impatience Fire is the addition of shurikens. The sharp shuriken coupled with the high damage caused by the blazing fire of Fire Release makes it difficult to dodge them all at close range, and will cause a lot of damage once hit. You taught your disciple Fire Release, Impatience Flower Claw Red, and because the disciple was very grateful, he was rewarded with a critical hit, and received the ninjutsu Fire Release, Fire Dragon Flame Bullet Proficient Level. Muyu nodded secretly in her heart, which was considered a small blow. Fire Dragon Flame Bullet is also a B-level fire escape ninjutsu. In Muyu's memory, it is a third-generation ninjutsu. The attack range is very wide and the fire is very fierce. It is considered a relatively powerful fire escape. After Mu Yu explained and demonstrated several times, Mu Yu asked Ji Shui to try it himself. Fire release. Impatience flower claws red. Shisui replicated Mu Yu's actions just now, spitting out flames and then throwing out his shuriken. The shuriken carrying the flames stabbed towards the wooden man. Perhaps because of the first practice, Shisui was not sure. Not all shurikens were equipped with flames. Mu Yu glanced at Shisui's panel using the appraisal technique. The proficiency level of Impatience Flower Claw Red has reached 32, and she can get started with just a little more practice. As he expected, Shisui's learning ability is very strong, and he can learn it very quickly if he directly learns Impatience Claw Red with his teaching skills. 2 days later, Obito believed that he had the strength to complete the challenge, and applied to challenge Mu Yu again. Chapter 71. Teacher, I want to challenge the river sprint. Obito found Mu Yu and told Mu Yu that he wanted to fight again. It had been 4 full days since his last challenge failed. In the past 4 days, he learned Mu Yu's special training speed increasing skills, and even broke through the limit speed in the competition with Metkai. Obito felt that he had the strength to pass the challenge. Of course, the main reason is that Obito feels that he has always failed in speed competitions because he has not learned to shave. Moreover, there will be a practical test in the special training next week. Obito wants to master shaving this week, and then he will not be so passive in the actual battle next week. He wanted to defeat Metkai once. So far, Obito has never won a formal battle with Metkai, and every time he was just a little bit close. If Metkai had mastered it but he hadn't, Obito felt that there would be no chance of winning in this actual battle. If the difference is too big, forget it. Every time it's a little bit worse, Obito is really unhappy. Okay, come with me. Mu Yu nodded and took Obito to the river. The second level is different from the first level. You don't need to set up traps in advance, you can directly challenge it. Mu Yu separated a large number of shadow clones, and then released a large number of water dragon bombs on the river. Teacher Mu Yu, I'm ready. Obito took a deep breath and began to gather chakra to prepare for a sprint. Start. Obito stared at the water dragon bullet, trying to see through the hidden patterns. Mu Yu reminded him after the last failure that so many water dragon bullets were not rushing back and forth randomly, but were moving in a regular manner. If it was just an ordinary 15-meter treading water, Obito could fly over in an instant, but with the interference of water dragon bombs, it would obviously not work directly and he would be easily knocked away. After observing for 2 seconds, Obito finally discovered the secret. There are a total of 12 water dragons on the river. 3 water dragons are grouped into a group. The movement and retreat patterns of the water dragons in the same group are similar. In other words, the 12 water dragons can actually be regarded as 4 large water dragons. There is also a pattern among the 4 large water dragons. About every second and a half, a safe area that can be passed will appear between the 2 large water dragons. The time is very short, and it disappears in almost the blink of an eye. After understanding this, Obito rushed out instantly, and it was too late to observe again. On the surface, it seems that the clearance time is 10 seconds, but in fact, the time to act may not even be half a second. This level tests the power of observation and the speed of instant action. After understanding the rules, it became much easier to pass the challenge. Every time Obito passed 4 water dragons, he stopped and waited for that moment of opportunity. Standing on the water, Obito stared closely at the ferocious-looking water dragons, not daring to slack off at all. He could not make any mistakes. The second level had too little room for error compared to the first level. Mu Yu looked at Obito's appearance and thought that if Obito could always maintain this calm and cautious attitude, the improvement in combat effectiveness would definitely be as good as learning an advanced ninjutsu. Successful. Obito couldn't help but cheer when he rushed through the last 4 water dragons and reached the shore. Teacher Mu Yu, the time shouldn't have passed, right? Obito asked with some worry. Mu Yu nodded and smiled and replied, no, you successfully completed the physical challenge. Great, then I should be able to learn how to shave now. Obito jumped up happily and kept watching Metkai Shisui and the others flash around, but he was so greedy. This is Xiao's practice method and experience. Remember to read more. Mu Yu handed Obito a scroll. I will definitely read it carefully and see that I can memorize these contents. Obito opened the scroll excitedly and found that the contents were somewhat familiar to him. If you think about it carefully, isn't there some content in it that Muyu taught him about the chakra techniques to increase his speed? Obito understood everything instantly. It's not that Muyu didn't want to teach him how to shave. In fact, Muyu had already started planning to teach him how to shave since he challenged Muyu's physical skills challenge. The forest sprint in the first level was a test of his physical fitness, and part of the shaving process was directly taught to him in the second level. Teacher Muyu, you are really the best teacher in the world. Obito understood Muyu's good intentions and was very moved. You gave the disciple a training scroll, and the disciple was very grateful. He was rewarded with a big critical hit and obtained fire release Haohuo Yao mastery. The rewards returned from today's apprenticeship were better than Muyu expected. They exploded in a big way, unleashing a proficient level ninjutsu and a powerful fire-destroying arrow. I almost forgot. This is your ticket fee. I forgot to give it to you at first. Muyu smiled and took out 3 test papers and handed them to Obito. The smile on Obito's face was stunned, and he said that he felt like something was missing. It turned out to be a test paper. This is the only thing he hopes Muyu has a bad memory. Since you have forgotten it, let it pass. Obito was already feeling dizzy when he saw the test paper. Muyu tapped Obito with her 2 fingers together and said, "It's a nice thought, but although it can't be waived, I can give you an interest-free installment." Obito was happy again when he heard that he could get interest-free, as he would be able to do a lot less questions. Next, Muyu took Obito to practice shaving. Finally able to practice the handsome teleportation technique, coupled with the difficulty of obtaining it, Obito practiced it very seriously. Hongdu felt that his 2 brothers had been acting strange recently. They spent the whole day talking and laughing together. Is there anything interesting you haven't told me? The straightforward Hongdu went directly to Gangzati and Shenyu Izumo. What's so fun? We are currently preparing for next week's actual combat test. Gangzati explained. Really? Hongdu looked at Gangzati with doubt. Don't insult our honest character with your suspicious eyes. Kamizuki Izumo said that they were indeed preparing for actual combat tests. Then how did you prepare for the war? Hongdu asked. Gangzati and Shenyu Izumo looked at each other for a while, and finally replied, "It's not suitable to tell you the preparations for this time." Although they are good brothers, they will not mistake Hongdu's gender. If you don't tell me, don't tell me. I'll see what tricks you can come up with on Monday, Enko said with a puffed-up face. She decided that if they met in a practical test on Monday, she would hit the Riddler hard and punish him. The practical test is approaching and everyone is preparing for the exam. Some people want to advance to a higher level group through performance games, and some people want to express themselves because there are people they care about. On Saturday afternoon, Asma asked Muyu to increase his training volume. Teacher Muyu, I think I can withstand greater pressure, please give me more training. Asma asked Muyu seriously. The first actual combat test will begin in 2 days, and Asuma feels that she can struggle a little longer. This time is not a secret battle with only Muyu present. Yuhi Hong will also see that even if he loses, he must lose with dignity. Why do you suddenly need to add training? Is it for actual combat testing? Muyu asked with a smile. It's really easy to guess the thoughts of a brat like Asuma. Well, you guessed it, teacher. Asma smiled sheepishly. Just temporary training will not improve your strength. Muyu rejected Asma's idea. It is useful to cram for the theory test. If you encounter the review content during the test, you will get a little more points. In actual practice, just practicing more in the last 2 days will have no effect, because practicing these 2 days more will not bring any significant improvement to the body. Unless you have super learning ability, learning 1 ninjutsu in 1 day and learning 2 more ninjutsu in 2 days would be useful, but Asuma obviously does not have such learning ability. What should we do? Asma asked, placing his hope on the almighty teacher Muyu. Do you really want to improve your strength? Muyu asked. It's not that he doesn't have a way, it's just that the process is quite brutal. It really couldn't be truer, Asuma replied. If you want to improve your strength in just 2 days, the only way is to fight. Muyu thought for a while and said. With only 2 days left, all Muyu could think of was a lot of fighting, in other words, a lot of beatings. Fight with my shadow clone. In the following time, as long as you still have the strength to stand up, continue to fight with my shadow clone. In this way, even in 2 days, you can improve your strength to a certain extent. In the actual combat test, combat is the content of the test. A large number of battles like asthmas are equivalent to brushing papers for the theoretical test, which is much more reliable than 2 extra days of training. Just listening to Mu Yu's words, Asuma felt how miserable it would be next, but for the sake of Yu Hihong, he had no choice but to nod his head and say yes. All I can say is that if you want to be prominent in front of others, you will have to suffer behind the scenes. In the following time, Asuma was basically beaten by Mu Yu's shadow clone. Even the shadow clone that Mu Yu deliberately suppressed was not something Asuma could defeat now. When Asuma was exhausted and resting against a big tree, he complained. If you ask me, the old man is too old-sighted. A ninja like Mu Yu sensei is still a chunin. If you ask me, you should be promoted to junin. When Mu Yu fought with him just now, including the shadow clone, Mu Yu used a total of 8 ninjutsu, including fire escape and water escape. The ninjutsu configuration was also good, with attack and defense. I am indeed not qualified to be promoted to Junin now. Mu Yu denied. Based on his performance just now, he is at best a chunin with a little more ninjutsu, but Asuma is too weak to think so. Sarutobi Hiruzen, are you watching? Mu Yu thought in her mind without changing her expression. The reason why he suddenly showed some strength was naturally not because he wanted to help Asuma train, but to show the 3rd generation. Even if the 3rd generation himself is not watching, the Anbu under surveillance will see it and report it to the 3rd generation. Mu Yu's idea is very simple, that is to pave the way. Sarutobi Hiruzen didn't know him thoroughly. As long as Mu Yu didn't show something too outrageous, then from the 3rd generation's perspective, this was Mu Yu's own talent. In fact, Mu Yu had laid the groundwork once before, and it was the kind of foreshadowing with witnesses, that is, the time when Kushina said that Mu Yu had the talent to practice sealing techniques. As the 9-tailed Jinchuriki, Kushina is naturally surrounded by Anbu surveillance. It was with this in mind that Mu Yu showed that he had a talent for sealing. Otherwise, with his caution, he would have pretended to have mastered it in 10 days. He has the talent for sealing, is particularly capable in teaching, and is not bad as a ninja. Such a young man is more worthy of being saved. Mu Yu expresses himself from cause perspective. He shows his value when the roots are invisible but the 3rd generation can see it. If it is fished out from the root, then you can perform further without worrying about the problems at the root. Because after Mu Yu was transferred to the 3rd generation, as long as he did not suddenly show abnormal strength, his next progress would be that the talents that were not discovered at the root were discovered and cultivated by the 3rd generation. Mu Yu wants to develop steadily, but he will not always be a chunin teacher, because the status of chunin teacher actually limits his upper limit of development. If he had really been an ordinary chunin teacher honestly, would he have had the opportunity for this special summer training? Or would he have been asked by Danzo to work as a coolie at the base during the holidays? The higher the status, the stronger the strength shown, and the more room Mu Yu can earn rewards. For example, he wanted to reform the curriculum of the ninja school and add some public classes that several classes could take together. If he was just an ordinary teacher, no one would listen to his opinions. But if this summer special training is done well and promoted to special junin, Mu Yu feels that her suggestion will be seriously considered. On Sunday morning, Mu Yu was taking Obito to practice shaving. At this time, both Metkai and Shisui had already fully mastered it, so only Obito was the only one to follow. Shaving is actually very simple. Just stack the technique you used before 3 times or more and it will be ready. Mu Yu explained while demonstrating. It's so difficult if my legs don't work. Obito followed Mu Yu's instructions and tried again, but unfortunately he still failed. It was easy to say it out of Mu Yu's mouth, and it wasn't difficult when he was imagining the action in his mind. But when he actually put it into practice, Obito felt that the ease just now was all an illusion. It was too difficult. Let alone 3 times, he was not stable even after 2 times. As long as you practice more, Shisui and the others didn't learn it in a few days. Mu Yu said. He used the identification technique to take a look at Obito's proficiency level. He already had more than 40 points of proficiency. Because I split a part of it before and taught it to Obito, it was easy to get started when I actually started teaching. Until the end of training, Obito was not able to complete 3 bursts of explosions, but he was able to achieve 2 bursts more stably, which can be regarded as an acceptable improvement. Disciple Uchiha Obito has practiced seriously under your guidance and gained a certain increase in strength, and received a reward, Breath of Fire proficient level. Miyu was a little surprised, but she didn't expect another breathing method. When Miyu checked the memory of Breath of Fire that suddenly appeared in her mind, she was instantly surprised by the Hokage version of Breath of Fire. Although they were both breathing methods, the effect was completely different from Breath of Rock. It can be called secret technique. Breath of Fire can actually enhance the power of fire release. The Naruto version of Breath of Fire can also enhance physical fitness, but this is not the main function of Breath of Fire. The main function of Breath of Fire is to strengthen fire escape. Introducing the Breath of Fire, you can use the full concentration breath to instantly increase the speed of the change of fire chakra properties and enhance the power of fire. After becoming proficient in the Breath of Fire, you can enter the normal state, normalizing the 2 effects of accelerating property changes and enhancing fire power, and have stronger explosive power. The pattern after mastering it is even more terrifying. It can instantly transform all chakra into flames without any hindrance. All fire escape ninjutsu can be performed immediately without forming seals, which greatly enhances the power of flames. After the magical modification of the system, the Breath of Fire has little to do with the one in the original Demon Slayer. There is no need to hold a sword. It can be said to be the fire escape chakra mode. There are many chakra modes in Naruto. The more common and practical one is the Sage mode. If you are a Jinchuriki, you can have the opportunity to practice the Tailed Beast chakra mode. There is also Kumogakure's Thunder Escape chakra mode. Muyu even thinks that Susanoo can be regarded as a chakra mode, which is a chakra mode limited to Mangekyo. Some chakra modes can be used in combination. Muyu didn't dare to imagine how powerful the fire escape would be if the Sage mode and the flame breath pattern were used together. Although the reward was not what Ubu had imagined, Muyu was very satisfied. The localized Breath of Fire has a very strong effect, which can not only enhance his own strength, but is also suitable for the training of his disciples. Shisui and Obito's current main attack ninjutsu are fire escape, and they are both suitable for the Breath of Fire. During dinner in the evening, Muyu told Kushina the news that he had successfully practiced 3 fingers. I have successfully practiced. 1 month has gone by quite quickly. Kushina sighed after taking a bite of the food. There's not a month, it's 27 days, Minato corrected. He remembered when Kushina gave Muyu the 3-finger seal, counted the days, and found that Muyu's cultivation speed was several days faster than Kushina had expected. 27 days is about the same as 1 month. I can't predict the future. It can't be 100% accurate. Kushina waved her hand and said. But being able to complete it earlier than I expected shows that Muyu's talent for sealing is really good. Kushina praised. It just so happens that I have recently finished writing my insights on practicing the sealing technique. After dinner, I will give you my insights and the sealing technique you are going to practice next. I also wrote some insights from my practice of sealing. It may not be as professional as Kushina's, but it should be helpful to you, Minato said. Although his sealing technique was completely taught by Kushina, everyone has different ideas when learning. Minato felt that his own insights should also be able to give Muyu some help. Thank you Kushina-sensei and Minato-sensei for your hard work. Muyu thanked. Then make more delicious food for Minato and I to try. Kushina said with a big smile. Although she felt like she wasn't working very hard, Muyu already said that she would be wasting this good opportunity if she didn't mention it. Can you eat spicy food? Muyu thought for a while and asked. When he was teaching Kushina and Minato how to cook, he made a magical mapo tofu. If he remembered correctly, it was the recipe from the young master, so it shouldn't taste bad. No problem, just feel free to do it, Muyu. Kushina replied. Fortunately, it's quite acceptable. Minato thought for a moment and said. They think a dish can be as spicy as possible, and at worst they can just stop eating the chili peppers in it. That's no problem. I'll cook a delicious dish for you tomorrow night. Muyu said with a smile. The food is glowing. I just wonder if there is something strange added in it. Kushina complained. Does it really shine when the food is extremely delicious? Minato thought about this question seriously. He remembered that the egg fried rice that Miyu made before seemed to be glowing faintly. After eating, Kushina and Minato returned home, took their training insights with them, and walked into the house where Miyu lived again. The two handed the scroll to Miyu, who took it and thanked her again. There are 3 sealing techniques recorded in the sealing scroll. In addition to the 5-finger seal and the advanced sealing technique corresponding to the 5-finger seal, there is also a contract seal, which is enough for you to practice for a year. Kushina said. It sounds difficult. I will have to ask you questions often. Miyu put the scroll away and said with a smile. Just ask, it may not be simple for you, but these are things I am very familiar with. Kushina said very confidently. After Kushina and Minato left, Miyu took the sealing technique scroll to the 2nd floor and started learning. Opening the sealing technique scroll, Miyu discovered that the advanced ninjutsu corresponding to the 5-finger seal was actually the 5-element seal. Miyu said that Kushina was indeed heroic enough and believed in his talent enough to even give him the advanced sealing technique of 5-element seal. Having studied sealing techniques for a period of time, he also knew what level sealing techniques such as 5-element seal represented. It was an ultra-difficult sealing technique, an advanced sealing technique that even a jonin who was good at sealing techniques might not be able to master. Miyu felt that the reason why the 5-finger seal existed might be to reduce the difficulty of learning the 5-element seal. Miyu took a look at the contract seal and found it quite interesting. The contract seal can cut off the contractual relationship between the person being casted and the psychic beast, causing the person being cast to lose control of the spiritism and be unable to summon the spiritism again. Since contractual relationships can be severed, other relationships can also be severed if improvements are made. Miyu has always speculated that the tongue eradication seal may have the function of actively activating it. With Danzo's caution, this is not impossible. If the relationship between Tongbane Zetsu and Danzo, the caster, can be severed, then Tongbane Zetsu's threat to him will be greatly reduced. Because the condition for triggering the tongue-breaking seal is to tell the secrets of Danzo and the root, as long as he doesn't tell them, it will never be triggered. Learn the 5-finger seal first, then learn the 5-element seal and the contract seal, and try to complete it in 1 month. Miyu thought in her mind. He also has 2 ninjutsu proficiency scrolls, which can directly bring beginner ninjutsu to the proficiency level, which he plans to use on the 5-element seal and the contract seal. When the 2 sealing arts reach the proficiency level, they will be able to give him feedback on more sealing arts knowledge. On Monday afternoon, Miyu started the actual test. At this time, the students in the summer special training have been studying for 2 weeks, and each has made some progress. The rules of the actual combat test are basically the same as those of the ninja school actual combat examination. The opponents are determined by random selection. No. 1 Gang Zitai vs No. 2 Shenyu Izumo. Miyu read out the names of the students in the first battle. When Shenyu Izuyun and Gangziti heard that they actually met in the first round, they couldn't help but secretly sighed that God had no eyes to see and let the 2 brothers kill each other in the first game. Zitai, I thought today was the day for you and me to become famous. I am so jealous of the talents. Shenyu Izuyun sighed. He didn't expect that he and Gangziti were so unlucky that they would meet in the first match. Yes, Gangziti also nodded with a sad look on his face. If they hadn't met, with the perfected art of confusing the enemy, they might be able to meet in a decisive battle and create a good story. Izumo, the perfected technique of confusing the enemy is very powerful. If you and I are fighting as brothers, it is better to ban this technique. Gangziti suggested. After thinking for a while, Shenyu Izumo smiled and nodded and said, "That's very good. You two, stop pretending to be ancients and talk here. Hurry up and get into the fighting area and prepare for the battle. Don't waste time," Hongdu said speechlessly. Ignoring Anko, who didn't understand the sense of ritual, the two walked towards the fighting clearing, getting ready for battle. The battle begins. Seeing that the 2 of them were ready, Miyu shouted. After hearing Miyu's words, both of them quickly rushed towards each other and started fighting at close range. But the 2 were of similar skill level, and they had been together for a long time and were taught by the same teacher. For a while, they were inseparable and evenly matched. Gangziti swung his right fist, and Kamizuki Izumo also swung his right fist. Gangziti elbowed Kamizuki Izumo and also elbowed him. The two fought each other for 2 minutes without a clear outcome. It's almost time, Gang Ziti thought to himself. Although we are brothers, the world of ninjas is very cruel. I will inherit Azumo's will and continue to win. Gang Ziti prepared to use the trick of confusing the enemy with a guilty heart. Ziti, I'm sorry, I'm a ninja. Shenyu Azumo quickly formed seals with a smile on his face. He was about to use the enemy confusion technique. Just kidding, how can I not use the ninjutsu that I have worked so hard to practice? The promise to Gang Ziti was just to paralyze him. Konoha's foul language. Gang Ziti instantly took back the guilt in his heart. This kid Shenyu Azumo was even more dishonest than him. With the completion of Kamizuki Azumo's seal, there were instantly 4 more big sister clones on the field wearing cool clothes and a bit of Kamizuki Azumo's charm. Even though he had performed this ninjutsu many times, Gang Ziti still subconsciously slowed down the speed of the seals, and his eyes drifted to the majestic mountains unknowingly. Not only steel and iron, but also many onlookers were attracted by the huge gravity and looked at those majestic mountains. Miu Yu was stunned for a second, thinking if this wasn't the seduction technique developed by Naruto, why did it come out early? The wind blowing from this butterfly was a bit unfair. Kamizuki Azumo took advantage of Gang Ziti's stun skills and directly kicked Gang Ziti down. Gang Ziti, who was attacked, woke up instantly and secretly thought in his heart that this ninjutsu was so terrifying that even a strong-willed person like him fell victim to it. The sober Gang Ziti quickly distanced himself, forming seals and releasing ninjutsu while running. Along with Gang Ziti's release of ninjutsu, 4 different clones of the big sister soon appeared on the field but also dressed in cool clothes. Looking at the big sister who suddenly appeared, Shenyu Azumo's pursuit gradually slowed down, while Gang Ziti took the opportunity to counterattack. These 2 idiots, how can such clones be useful? They look so weak. Hongdu felt that Gang Ziti and Shenyu Azumo were making random changes. The fight was fierce in the open space, and the people in the audience were very satisfied to watch it. In the end, Kamizuki Azumo was slightly better and won the first battle. Azumo, this is not your power, it is the power of Brother Ebisu. Gang Ziti felt that he lost not because of his strength, but because of his face. He actually didn't take the initiative because of guilt. This ninjutsu can be perfected. Brother Ebisu is indeed the first, but if you win, you win. I will continue to win with your will, Zitetsu. Kamizuki Azumo said with a proud smile. The students in the audience heard the conversation between the two and started discussing it. Ebisu, the senior who was the only one promoted last week, actually took the lead in developing this ninjutsu. Some students felt a little unbelievable. In the last strength test, Ebisu was promoted to Class A alone, so he has a lot of popularity in Group C. That's him. I know him. He and I are in the same class, both in Class 4 and Class 6. Ebisu's classmate came out and nodded. One thing to say, this technique may be quite practical. Is he a genius? Someone analyzed seriously. In any case, Ebisu is already famous in Group C. But it's a pity that Azumo Kamizuki only enjoyed it once. His opponent in the second round was Azuki Yugao. Kamizuki Azumo's clone, Uazuki Shion, didn't even look at it. It kept chasing Kamizuki Azumo and beat him. Kamizuki Azumo was not his opponent and was quickly defeated. I almost forgot that there are female students. Shenyu Azumo found that the technique of confusing enemies still had shortcomings. Azumo, this is what happens when you stab a brother in the back. Gang Ziti laughed loudly. Group A is also undergoing actual combat testing. No. 1 Uchiha Shisui vs No. 2 Yuhi Kurenai. Is he the first battle? Yuhi Hong was stunned for a moment when she heard her name. She had only known Shisui for more than 10 days, but Shisui had already left a deep impression on her. The seniors in the team were easily defeated, and she came out on top as a first-year student and ranked first in the strength test. Red, just try your best. Asuma comforted her. Be careful with his speed, he is very fast. Ningzu Lei reminded him. The reason he lost that time was because he underestimated Shisui's speed. Yuhi Hong nodded, calmed down and walked towards the open space, her eyes very determined. The battle begins. When she actually fought against Shisui, Kurenai Yuhi knew that the defeat was not unfair. Taijutsu and ninjutsu were suppressed in all directions, and he had almost no power to fight back. He just tried his best to deal with the attack. In the end, Yuhi Kurenai couldn't withstand Shisui's offensive and quickly lost the battle. Uchiha Shisui wins. Yu announced the result of the battle. He used an appraisal to see Yuhi Kurenai's potential, and it was pretty good, an A. However, Kurenai Yuhi's talent lies in illusions, and Naruto's illusions are a bit embarrassing. Not counting the kaleidoscope ability, there is basically no way to beat her. It's okay. Lei Tong didn't lose to him. This guy is too talented. Asma comforted him in time. The man lying with the gun next to him glared at Asuma with some displeasure, trying to comfort him by piercing his heart, right? No. 17 Uchiha Obito versus No. 18 Metkai. The two of them actually met in the first round. The fourth-year students watching the game all felt pity. Metkai and Obito were the top two fourth-year students in actual combat. Even in the strongest Group A, they had the ability to enter the fourth place and second place. But when they met like this in advance, one of them was destined to be eliminated early. No matter who wins, Obito or Metkai, there will be one less powerful opponent behind them. Asuma thought to himself as he watched Metkai and Obito meet in the first round. He is not as familiar with Metkai as Obito, and he does not know Metkai's specific actual combat abilities, but since Metkai can defeat Obito in the actual combat test, his strength must not be underestimated. Thinking of this, Asuma showed a serious expression, preparing to collect information about Obito and Metkai through this battle. The first battle is with Akai. Obito showed a troubled expression. Metkai has completed the practice of shaving, but he has not yet completed it, and has been unable to stack it 3 times at the same time. But Obito didn't feel that he had no hope of winning. Their current strength is not enough to support them from shaving multiple times in a short period of time, which puts too much pressure on their leg muscles. So he can only say that being small has a disadvantage, not that he can't fight. When Metkai saw that his first opponent was Obito, he felt a little ignited. The two quickly walked to the fighting area and prepared to start fighting. Start. After seeing the two of them getting into stance, Yu quickly announced the start of the battle. As soon as Yu finished speaking, Metkai's figure disappeared directly from the spot. Konoha Great Cyclone. Metkai's passionate voice echoed throughout Group A. The opponent was Obito, and they knew each other too well after practicing together every day, so Metkai did not make a tentative attack and went all out when he made a move. He first instantly completed the 3-speed superposition and rushed towards Obito at extremely high speed, and then directly kicked out his strongest kick. So fast. The surrounding students were surprised by Metkai's speed. They only felt as if Metkai had teleported just now, and his body instantly disappeared on the spot. What a quick instant. Asuma was even more surprised. Because he can also do the teleportation technique, but not only is he not as fast as Metkai, he also needs to form seals. Obito and Metkai had opposite ideas. Metkai wanted to rush up and fight in close combat, while Obito wanted to use ninjutsu to distance himself with a shave. However, because Obito was slightly slower, he was still kicked by Metkai's heel attack. Although he blocked it with his arm, the kick already made Obito's arm tremble uncontrollably. Being at a disadvantage from the beginning made Obito's mind spin rapidly. He knew that he would definitely lose if he fell into Metkai's attack rhythm, so Obito made a prompt decision and used shave twice in a row to open up a big gap with Metkai. Distance. Metkai followed quickly, but was still kept away from Obito because Metkai only used shave once. Win. Metkai judged in his heart. Counting the first wave of confrontation, Obito used the shave 3 times in 1 minute. Metkai's body was so much stronger than Obito that he didn't dare to use it like this. After that, Obito would not even continue to use the teleportation technique, he would even run. Can't run fast. Fire release. Fireball jutsu. Obito endured the pain in his legs, quickly formed a seal and used fire release ninjutsu, and spit out a 3-meter-high fireball. The big fireball burning with raging fire smashed towards Metkai fiercely. Metkai did not panic, but instead focused on his surroundings, carefully guarding against attacks from other places. Having faced so many powerful fireballs, Metkai also knew that this ninjutsu was powerful, but easy to dodge. What needed to be paid attention to were other attacks coming during this period. But to Metkai's surprise, Obito did not take advantage of this period to attack him. When Obito re-entered Metkai's sight, Metkai discovered that there were 5 Obitos on the field. Did you use the clone technique to obstruct your vision with fireballs? Metkai thought about Obito's plan for a while. The 5 Obitos were running away from each other, and for a while, Metkai couldn't tell which one was the real body and which one was the phantom. Until Metkai saw an Obito who seemed to be running a little slower, with a strange expression flashing across his face from time to time. I found you. Metkai directly concentrated chakra on his legs and used his razor to rush towards the slightly slower Obito, hoping to catch Obito off guard and directly eliminate him. Obito had just shaved his legs one after another, and his legs had been under tremendous pressure. It was normal for this problem to occur. Konoha tornado. Metkai directly kicked Obito with a tornado leg. Obito didn't seem to expect that Metkai would find him so quickly, and Metkai was too fast to react, and he didn't even take a defensive stance. Just when Metkai thought the battle was over, Metkai's face changed drastically in the next moment. Because the moment he kicked Obito, the Obito he attacked disappeared directly. It's a trap, it's a clone. Metkai quickly turned around to look for traces of the real Obito. At this time, the real Obito had already completed the fire escape ninjutsu not far from Metkai. Fire release. Dragon fire technique. Obito spit out a half-human high-fire dragon from his mouth and rushed towards Metkai at high speed. At close range, Metkai quickly felt the temperature of the fire dragon. Metkai had to endure the pain in his leg muscles and used only 2 superimposed shaves to avoid this ninjutsu. But Goryu fire is different from Go fire ball. The fire dragon can turn. Metkai disappeared. Obito immediately controlled the Goryu fire and continued to rush towards Metkai. Water escape water formation wall. When the fire dragon was about to rush in front of Metkai, a wall of water rose up to block the fire dragon. Miyu took action. Although Obito should be able to control the fire dragon to stop in front of Metkai, Miyu was worried that Obito's condition was too poor and the ninjutsu would be out of control, so he blocked the fire dragon in advance. Uchiha Obito wins. Miyu announced the result directly. I don't know if it was because of his previous training, or because Obito couldn't play without going against the wind. He couldn't win in a 50-50 situation before. This time, when Miyu thought that Metkai had a much better chance of winning, Obito still won. Akai, I won this time. Obito laughed with a proud expression after hearing the result of the battle. He finally defeated Metkai once in actual combat, and he even turned defeat into victory at a disadvantage. However, before Metkai could say anything, Obito fell to the ground in the next second and fainted. Obito, are you okay? Metkai rushed up to check the situation. Miyu appeared in the open space, grabbed Obito and said, it should be that he has consumed too much chakra and is too tired. I will send him to Konoha Hospital for a checkup. Miyu left a shadow clone to continue hosting the actual combat test, while the main body took Obito to the hospital. As Miyu expected, there was nothing wrong with Obito's body. It was just excessive chakra consumption and physical fatigue caused by repeated use of shaving in a short period of time. After all, Obito had just fired the Go Fire Ball and the Go Dragon Fire, and also used several incomplete shaving and clone techniques. Among them, the clone technique consumes the least amount of chakra, but its effect is crucial. After being treated, Obito quickly woke up, and when he saw Miyu sitting next to him, he couldn't help but start sharing the highlight moments of the battle he had just fought. When I was kicked by Kai at the beginning, I knew that I would definitely lose this battle if it went on normally, so I tried my best to use ninjutsu at a distance if I couldn't use Shao again. In order to save chakra, that huge fireball looks bluffing but is not actually very powerful. I just wanted to attract Kai's attention and cover his sight. When he talked about how he used the clone technique to deceive Metkai, Obito was even more elated and looked extremely excited. I know that Akai is very observant when fighting, so I endured the pain and controlled the clone to show fatigue and exhaustion to mislead Akai. Today's battle Obito feels like he can boast for a year. There are too many details. The clones didn't show differences from the beginning, but they pretended to be tired after running for a while. This is more natural. Today's performance is indeed excellent. It would be great if I can be so calm in battles in the future. Miyu praised. He never hesitates to praise his students when they perform well. If he keeps denying the students because he is worried about their arrogance and complacency, he will eventually lose confidence in himself. Miyu feels that if the current Obito is graded, he should not be a virtuous 2nd, but more or less a virtuous 3 and a virtuous 4. Hehe, it's teacher Muyu who taught me well. Obito chuckled, showing a satisfied smile. Why did he just say so much? Is it showing off? Of course not. What's there to show off to the teacher if you win against your peers? He just showed his progress and got Muyu's approval. If Obito had to say that the only drawback of that battle was that there were 2 missing people, Nohara Rin and Kakashi were not present. If Nohara Rin were present, she would definitely praise his fighting wisdom, and Kakashi, a fool, would not dare to underestimate him anymore. After confirming that nothing happened, Obito and Muyu suggested going back to the training ground to watch the battle. Muyu thought about it and knew that Obito definitely didn't want to give up the exam. In addition, Obito was indeed not injured, so Muyu took Obito back. By the time Muyu returned to the training ground, the first round of fighting had ended, and half of the students had been eliminated. The second round of fighting had just begun, and there was still a certain amount of time before Obito's battle round. In the second round of the battle, Shisui's opponent was still a genin who graduated this year, and he was still solved cleanly. No one was surprised by this. Currently, students in Class A generally believe that only Metkai, Uchiha Obito, and Sarutobi Asuma have any hope of winning. Originally, Bingzu Yi-Do should also be on the list, but because he had already lost, and the loss was very clean, everyone felt that Bingzu Yi-Do would not be able to win if he played again. Obito's opponent in the second round was a 4th-year student. Even though Obito was not in peak condition, he successfully defeated his opponent. The third round of the battle was similar, but it is worth mentioning that Asuma and his teammates met at the same time. When Asuma was Asuma's opponent, everyone realized that they might have underestimated both the strength of Hiroshi and Shisui. Everyone recalled carefully and found that whether the opponent was a 4th-year student or a graduated genin, Shisui's time to deal with the opponent was almost the same. Could it be that Shisui's strength fluctuated? They felt that this should not be possible. The only possibility is that Shisui has a relatively gentle personality and doesn't want others to lose too ugly, so he chooses his attack according to the opponent's strength. The speed of the kunai is very fast. Although it is not as good as the shaved Metkai, it is a very strong group among the students of Class A. When wielding the kunai for close combat, Asuma ate a lot, suffering. However, it can be said that Asuma has been beaten in various ways in the past 2 days. He did not lose his position due to the same sharp attacks, and quickly found an opportunity to counterattack and win. As the sun gradually sets toward the west, the battle on the training ground is coming to an end. The last battle of the 4-2 series is the battle between Obito and Asuma. Both of them had gone through a tough fight before, and Obito fainted from exhaustion, but he has mostly recovered now. When fighting Guy, Obito could only distance himself to avoid his sharp edge, but when fighting Asuma, Obito rushed forward and started a close fight with Asuma. After training for so long, Obito's taijutsu is no longer just a hindrance. It's just not as good as Shisui and Metkai, but it's still okay to beat other people of the same age. Obito suddenly rushed over and knocked Asuma out of control. He saw that Obito and Metkai basically avoided taijutsu combat when they fought, and thought that Obito's taijutsu was still about the same as before. As a result, Asuma was stunned when the fight started, and his head was buzzing from being directly shaved and kicked by Konoha's whirlwind from Obito. Originally, Asuma might have been able to fight, but his poor decision-making caused him to lose the chance to win, and he was quickly defeated at the hands of Obito. The last battle, Uchiha Shisui vs Uchiha Obito. Muyu said the name of the finalist. They are all from the Uchiha clan. A wealthy family is indeed a wealthy family. Ebisu sighed. Although they were of the same age, there was a big gap between his strength and those of the family ninjas, and he was eliminated in the first round. What a pity. I had a chance to win, but I didn't expect Obito's taijutsu to improve so much. Asuma felt a little pity. As seniors, we are really unqualified. We must practice harder in the future. Yuhi Hong said. When Obito walked to the fighting venue and faced Shisui, his mood was a little subtle. He fought a lot with Metkai, but almost never with Shisui. When he first started practicing with Muyu, Obito was often hit by Shisui's training progress. Because he needed to practice something for a week, Shisui completed it in one afternoon, and Shisui was from the same family as him and was younger than him. Now Obito doesn't care so much. Although Shisui is strong, Obito is not bad either. However, Obito really felt that there was no hope of winning against Shisui today, as he was in average condition. Knowing that he would lose, Obito still fought with all his strength. Although he lost in the end as he expected, Obito was not disappointed because he had fought as hard as he could. Moreover, he defeated Metkai today, and Obito was in a very good mood. As soon as it was over, he went to Nohara-rin to brag about today's counterattack. The number of people in Group B is much larger than that of Group A, so when Obito passed by, Group B was still conducting actual combat tests. Obito glanced at the onlookers and quickly found Nohara-rin. Obito walked towards Nohara-rin with an excited smile and said, "Shaolin, you don't know how powerful I was just now. Kai had the upper hand but was defeated by me." Nohara-rin turned around when she heard Obito's voice and asked with some confusion, "Has the exam in Group A ended?" "Well, it's over. I'm in second place. I only lost to Shisui." Obito couldn't help but tell Nohara-rin about his good results. "You finally defeated Kai. That means you have made great progress, Obito. In the previous practical exams when you were in school, you never defeated Kai." Nohara-rin showed a gentle smile and praised Obito's progress. "Feel happy. In the last semester, Obito's strength improved by leaps and bounds, and he even defeated the previous number 1 Uchiha Tekka, but Metkai, who also advanced by leaps and bounds, became a stumbling block on Obito's path to number 1. With Metkai around, Obito was ranked second in grade and never ranked first in his class. So Nohara-rin was very happy for Obito after knowing that Obito finally defeated Metkai, which shows that Obito's strength has improved a lot. "Hehe, actually I had a chance to defeat before, but every time I was just a little bit close." Obito explained with a smile, and he was very happy to receive Nohara-rin's praise. If it were purely based on paper strength, in fact, his strength was a disadvantage in this battle. It was mainly his strategy during the battle that allowed him to win the battle. "By the way, how are Xiaolin's results? Did she enter the top 10? Obito asked. "No, I feel like everyone is improving very quickly." Nohara-rin shook her head and replied. "Her actual combat ability is at the middle level in Class B, so how could she be in the top 10? That's it, or I'll teach you how to become stronger." Obito felt that Nohara-rin seemed a little disappointed with his own strength, so he said with enthusiasm. "Okay." Nohara-rin thought about Obito's rapid improvement in strength, nodded and smiled. Obito took Nohara-rin aside, and then thought about what to teach Nohara-rin. Things like Shao, Dragon Fire, and Konoha Whirlwind must not be taught, because they were taught to him by Miyu, and they cannot be taught without Miyu's consent. Obito thought of how Fireball. Although Miyu had also taught this, he already knew it. "How about Xiaolin, you can learn the Fireball technique from me. Although this is AC level fire escape, it is very powerful." Obito decided to teach Lingo Nohara the Fireball technique. First is the seal. Obito quickly completed the seal of the fireball. Then the chakra in the body is converted into flames, and finally a big fireball is blown out like a balloon. Obito said while gesturing with his hands. Nohara-rin looked at Obito with a question mark on her face. "Don't you understand, Xiaolin?" Obito scratched his head. He felt that what he said was quite detailed, and he might be a good teacher. "Just do this first, then that, and finally blow it out like a balloon." Obito gestured again. Nohara-rin didn't know how to evaluate Obito's teaching level for a while. She could tell that Obito really wanted to teach her the art of fireball, but when he taught it, it was a bit abstract. "Obito, thank you for your kindness, but I don't even know my own attributes yet," Nohara-rin said helplessly. Everyone in the ninja world is born with a chakra attribute, and cultivating the nature of the innate attribute will change easier and faster. That's it. Obito scratched his hair, a little regretful that he couldn't help Nohara-rin. He decided to ask Miyu how to teach people to become stronger when he was practicing tonight. The almighty immortal Miyu would definitely be able to solve his problem. When the plan to teach people failed, Obito started chatting with Nohara-rin until there was a commotion on the training ground. It should be that teacher Miyu has announced the results after the exams are over, Nohara-rin said as she looked at a group of people crowded in front of the bulletin board. "Xiaolin, let's go take a look too." Obito led Nohara-rin to the bulletin board with great interest. Although he knew his achievements, Obito wanted to see if anyone would praise him for his achievements. But when he walked over, Obito discovered that the most discussed person was not him or even Shisui, who was not the number one, but Ebisu, who had just entered Group A last week. You don't know what happened during the Group C exam just now. Two people created a clone of Sister Qingliang to confuse their opponents during the battle. Oh, I know this, but it wasn't developed by them. I remember it was developed by Ebisu, who was promoted to Group A last time. Yes, he developed it. I know this guy. He usually seems quite serious, but I didn't expect. Listening to the discussion of the people next to him, Obito looked confused and didn't know what was going on. He asked everyone to stop discussing the top two in Group A and instead discuss Ebisu. Moreover, the more Obito listened, the more outrageous it became, and later it developed into Ebisu using the clone technique to separate the cool sister in the battle to confuse the opponent. Obito thought that he didn't see any big sister Qingliang appearing when Ebisu was fighting. Obito also thought about going to Ebisu to ask about the situation, but found out that maybe he lost in the first round because of his poor grades. Ebisu left after the exam and Obito was not found. After the exam results were announced, Miyu returned directly to her home in the main city, and there was still no pop-up window about the exam appearing in the system. Back home, Miyu started preparing to make magic Mapo tofu. The biggest difference between the magic Mapo tofu recipe given to him by the system and the Mapo tofu in his impression is that soybeans are used. To be precise, it's meat made from soybeans. The soybeans are soaked in water, then cooked in stock, then flattened and seasoned with sauce to give the soybeans a meaty texture, and finally quickly fried to lock in the flavor of the sauce. The fried soybeans are then added to Mapo tofu to add another flavor to Mapo tofu, which is magic Mapo tofu. When the moon ceremony is completed, cover the dinner plate with a lid to add a sense of ceremony. Soon Kushina and Minato knocked on the door of Mizuki's house. As soon as Minato and Kushina came in, they saw the cover on the dining table, which was not usually there. Why did you get a cover? Kushina asked casually. Maybe it's because you're afraid that the food will get cold. You'll be cooking earlier than usual today. Minato speculated. Stop guessing, you will know as soon as you open the cover. Miyu brought the remaining 2 plates to the dining table and said with a smile. I'll do it. Kushina quickly stepped forward and lifted the cover directly. When Kushina picked up the cover, something magical happened. The moment the cover was lifted, a red light emitted. But when Kushina and Minato looked carefully, it seemed that there was no light, but the color of the food was too red. Looking at the bright red Mapo tofu, Kushina swallowed and said, Miyu, you didn't say you would add so much spicy food. It looks so spicy. She originally thought that Miyu just added an extra chili pepper, but looking at the color of Mapo tofu, Kushina felt that the entire dish was mainly spicy. This dish is indeed a bit spicy, but it's not just spicy, it also has several flavors such as fragrant, hot, crispy, numb, etc. Miyu explained. Minato heard Miyu say that there were so many flavors, so he took the first step to pick up a spoon and scoop out part of it and put it in his mouth. Spicy. Minato's first feeling after eating Mapo tofu was that it was spicy. It was indescribably spicy. He felt that Miyu's was a bit spicy and was particularly spicy for him. It was so hot that Minato felt as if he had been in a world full of flames, with flames erupting everywhere, and it was extremely hot. But Mapo tofu is not only spicy, many flavors soon burst out in Minato, making Minato immersed in delicious food. It's delicious, Minato praised seriously. After saying that, Minato quickly dug out several spoonfuls of tofu and put them into the bowl to continue tasting. When Kushina saw Minato eating in such a hurry, she knew that this dish must taste very good, so she also took a bite. It was indeed numb and spicy, but it was also very fragrant, and Kushina even tasted meat in it. It's indeed delicious. Kushina quickly took a spoon and scooped out a few spoonfuls of tofu. Although it was very spicy, it was so delicious that Kushina couldn't control her hands at all. After the meal, the delicious magic Mapo tofu just became a topic of conversation after the meal. When Miyu told the ingredients needed for the magic Mapo tofu, Kushina asked, Miyu, did you forget an ingredient? Isn't there still meat? Kushina remembered that she had eaten meat in it. There is no meat in the ingredients. Miyu affirmed. But I clearly ate something that tasted like meat. Kushina was a little confused. I ate it too, Minato said with a nod. It tastes like meat, but it's actually not meat. It's processed soybeans, Yu explained, telling the two of them the principle. It's amazing, soybeans can actually taste like this. Kushina thought it was amazing. Minato also felt that Muyu's cooking skills were unheard of and unseen, and soybeans could actually taste like meat. Because she still had to help her disciples train, Miyu quickly said goodbye to Minato and Kushina, saying that she would let them see the cooking process when they had time. Going to the southern forest, Miyu helped her disciples train every day. Shisui is practicing impatience claw red, Metkai is exercising his body and familiarizing himself with the use of shaving, and Obito is continuing to work towards the introduction of shaving. When the training time was almost up, Obito asked Muyu. Teacher Muyu, how can I teach others ninjutsu? Why do you ask this? Who do you want to teach? Muyu asked. My good friend Nohara Lin also participated in the summer special training and is in Group B. Obito told Muyu what happened today. I feel like I've explained it quite clearly, but Xiaolin still doesn't understand. Obito sighed. Muyu was a little speechless. As Obito just described, he felt that Obito's teaching level was similar to Naruto's. Teaching people ninjutsu was almost equivalent to letting the other person take a look and then develop it themselves. Muyu does have the knowledge on how to be a qualified teacher. After all, he is a normal student and this is his major. However, based on Obito's current performance, Muyu felt that leaving these to Obito would be useless. You'd better learn ninjutsu first. Muyu brought her fingers together and tapped Obito's head. Is there nothing the almighty Muyu sage can do this time? Obito lowered his head in disappointment. But Obito soon came up with a good idea. He couldn't teach Nohara Rin, and Muyu couldn't make him become good at teaching, so why not just let Muyu teach Nohara Rin? Teacher Muyu, Xiaolin's grades are actually not good either. I think she urgently needs your guidance, Teacher Muyu. Obito and Muyu recommended. After hearing Obito's words, Muyu fell into thinking. Currently, the system only has 4 disciple positions, leaving only 1 vacant spot. It is obviously impossible to give it to Nohara Lin. But you can just be a real disciple and not confirm it with the system. Muyu thought for a moment, and there were 2 benefits to teaching Nohara Lin. One is to better stimulate Obito to practice hard, and the other is to have the opportunity to trick Kakashi into becoming his disciple. Kakashi also has S-level potential and is already on the road to rapid growth, so he is a good choice. Then you go and communicate with Nohara Lin. If she is willing to come to study with me, then come over. Muyu said. Upon hearing Muyu's agreement, Obito immediately cheered. He originally wanted to give it a try. After all, it was impossible for him to force Muyu to teach Nohara Lin. Sure enough, Muyu sage is omnipotent, Obito said excitedly. The thought of being able to practice with Nohara Rin in the future made Obito extremely excited. He couldn't wait to fast forward time to tomorrow and tell Nohara Rin the good news. The next day, Ebisu went to the training ground as usual in the morning to prepare for special training. Why does it feel like everyone is looking at me? Ebisu muttered, feeling the gazes coming from everywhere. The last time he dominated the promotion list alone, he gained a lot of attention, but his performance in Group A yesterday was not good, so there is no reason why he would attract everyone's attention. After all, he had just been promoted, so it made sense that he couldn't beat those in the original A group. Ebisu, I didn't expect that you kid, who looks so serious on the surface, is so serious behind his back. Shiranui Genma said, hammering Ebisu's chest. They are both students in Class 6 of the 4th year and have a very good relationship. When Ebisu heard what Shiranui Genma said, although he didn't know what happened, he instinctively felt something was wrong. If you have free time at noon, let me see the enemy baiting technique. I want to challenge my weakness. Shiranui Genma joked. The art of confusing the enemy. Ebisu vaguely guessed what happened, and his heart suddenly sank. Stop pretending. Are we still pretending to be in a relationship with each other? And now that the news has spread among the 3 groups, there's no point in continuing to pretend. Isn't it just that I have developed a ninjutsu for adults? Just admit it boldly, Shiranui Genma said. All the adult ninjutsu and the 3 groups know. Ebisu, who guessed what happened, went dark and almost fainted. I really didn't develop it, I just made a suggestion. Ebisu felt that his ninja school career was already saying goodbye to him. Unable to hold back, Ebisu went directly to find Gang Ziti and Shenyu Izumo. Brother Ebisu. Gang Ziti and Kamizuki Izumo both greeted Ebisu enthusiastically. Although the two of them looked very respectful, Ebisu couldn't help suppressing his anger and asked, "Are you two spreading rumors about me?" Gang Ziti shook his head and said, "How is it possible? Brother Ebisu, you have been kind to us as a preacher, so how can we be disadvantageous to you?" "Yes, Brother Ebisu, have you listened to other people's slander?" Izumo Kamizuki analyzed. "Now the three groups are saying that I took the lead in developing your new enemy conceiving technique. What's going on?" Ebisu said with a dark face. "We never said this." The two shook their heads. They just said that Ebisu's contribution was greater. "Don't be unhappy, Brother Ebisu, I'll show you something good." Gang Ziti motioned Ebisu to come over, and then took out a novel. "Izumo and I have been able to successfully perfect the art of confusing enemies, and this novel is indispensable. I think you can also learn something from it, Ebisu-san." Ebisu opened the book and looked at it doubtfully. After seeing the content, he quickly closed the book and looked around twice. "Ahem, this book is really good. Let me keep it for you temporarily." Ebisu decided to temporarily forgive the two younger brothers. "By the way, come find me during the lunch break and I'll see how your ninjutsu training is going," Ebisu added before leaving. As soon as Obito walked into the training ground, he couldn't wait to find Nohara Rin. "Shaolin, do you want the teacher or not?" Nohara Rin looked at Obito with a puzzled look. "I mean, do you want to practice with Teacher Muyu?" Obito pulled Nohara Rin aside and asked. "Aren't we all practicing with Teacher Muyu now?" Nohara Rin became even more confused. Obito scratched his hair, feeling that what he said was obvious enough. "It's not about practicing during the day, but receiving the teachings from Teacher Muyu after class," Obito said. "You want to ask me if I want to become Teacher Muyu's disciple?" Nohara Rin summarized Obito's meaning and asked. Seeing that Nohara Rin finally understood what he meant, Obito nodded with satisfaction. "Teacher Muyu is very powerful. If he were to teach you, you would definitely become stronger soon," Obito said. Because Muyu did not let his disciples reveal their master-disciple relationship outside, Obito did not directly say that he had made such great progress by becoming Muyu's disciple. Of course Nohara Rin knew that Muyu's teaching level was very high, because Muyu often took over her class. However, Nohara Rin keenly sensed that the greatness Obito mentioned may not only be great at teaching. Obito suddenly said such things to her, coupled with Obito's changes in recent months. Nohara Rin had a guess in her mind. Maybe Obito had changed so much in the past few months because he became Muyu's disciple. "If you are willing, Xiaolin, just go to a place with me after school tonight after dinner," Obito said. "This won't bother you and Teacher Muyu, Obito, right?" Nohara Rin didn't agree directly and asked Obito. "No trouble, no trouble." Seeing that Nohara Rin was thinking of agreeing, Obito said quickly. He had already agreed with Muyu that it would be fine as long as Nohara Rin went. In the end, Nohara Rin nodded and agreed. It was really good to have a good teacher. She had a good impression of Muyu, and with Obito recommending her so highly, Nohara Rin couldn't help but become more curious about Muyu. How did Muyu teach Obito such a huge change in just a few months? After class, Nohara Rin took a few more glances at Muyu and found that Muyu's skin was very good, but then she didn't notice anything else. Muyu glanced at the lecture reward, noticed Nohara Rin's gaze, and responded with a gentle smile. Complete a large class teaching. Evaluation. A. Reward. Geki Konoha Vajra Power Cyclone, Chakra Scalpel. The rewards are pretty good. One is Metkai's favorite Konoha Whirlwind series of physical techniques, and the other is an advanced medical ninjutsu, which is also very powerful in actual combat. After class, Muyu first returned to the main city to finish dinner, and then went to the southern forest to practice with her disciples. But this time there are no longer 3 disciples, there is also Nohara Rin. When Nohara Rin first arrived here, she happened to see Shisui and Metkai practicing, and was a little surprised. Nohara Rin didn't expect that Zishui was also Muyu's disciple, which made her even more curious about Muyu. After discovering Mu Yu's arrival, the four of them all greeted Mu Yu, Teacher Mu Yu. Well, good evening everyone, Mu Yu said with a gentle smile. Privately, Teacher Mu Yu seems to be in school and training ground. Nohara Lin thought in her mind. Although Nohara Lin and Mu Yu did not communicate face to face, they had already communicated through Obito, so there were no surprises and they became disciples smoothly. Your chakra control ability is actually very good. Do you want to try to learn medical ninjutsu? Mu Yu asked. He remembered that Nohara Rin seemed to have a good talent in medical ninjutsu, and she had mastered the advanced medical ninjutsu, Palm Senjutsu, when she was 12 years old. Medical ninjutsu. Nohara Lin thought for a while, then her eyes became brighter and brighter, and she finally nodded. She felt that this was a good choice, and among the medical ninjas there were also well-known strong men in the ninja world like Tsunade. Tsunade is the idol of many ninjas in Konoha, and Nohara Rin is one of them. Let's learn the most basic healing techniques first, Mu Yu said when Nohara Lin had an idea. Naturally, the healing medical ninjutsu cannot only be high-level ninjutsu like Palm Senjutsu, but there are also lower-level healing techniques and hemostasis techniques. Since this was Nohara Lin's first exposure to medical ninjutsu, Mu Yu did not teach him directly, but talked about some theoretical knowledge with Nohara Lin. After waiting for the disciples to leave, Mu Yu practiced breathing techniques alone in the southern forest. In fact, when you reach the state of normalcy, you are exercising every day when you sleep, but if you do additional exercise, the effect will be better. Mu Yu is now very clear about the advantages and disadvantages of the two breathing methods. He usually uses rock breathing Changjong, because rock breathing has a stronger effect on physical exercise, and flame breathing is a strong blessing to fire escape in battle. He is working on the breathing method training plan for his disciples. When it is completed, he will let the disciples practice breathing method collectively, except for the new Nohara Lin. Because these two breathing methods are not suitable for Nohara Rin, there is a high probability that she will not be able to learn it. A few days after joining the training team in the southern forest, Nohara Lin gained a lot of new knowledge. For example, Mu Yu's strength. Although Mu Yu was a very good teacher in Nohara Lin's impression, Nohara Lin always believed that Mu Yu had a superb teaching level and that her own strength as a ninja was similar to that of other Chunin teachers. Now Nohara Lin discovered that her idea was wrong. Just when Mu Yu taught Shisui fire release, the terrifying power of the fire release made Nohara Lin feel that Mu Yu's strength was extraordinary. Although the ninjutsu classes at the ninja school do not include ninjutsu other than the three skin jutsu, the students have been asking for it, and occasionally a Chunin teacher will show his hand and show other ninjutsu to the students. Nohara Lin had never seen Junin releasing ninjutsu or fighting, but she felt that even if Mu Yu was not as good as those Junin, she was considered very strong among Chunin. And Mu Yu seems to be very versatile. He can do a lot of ninjutsu, taijutsu, genjutsu and even medical ninjutsu. In addition to Mu Yu's strength, after careful observation, Nohara Lin found that Mu Yu was more relaxed when she was here than at the training ground. Then there was the matter of Obito studying hard last semester. When he saw Obito failed in the competition and received a bunch of questions with a sad face, Nohara Lin understood why he always saw Obito doing the questions last semester. She thought it was strange before. If Obito suddenly loved studying, Obito would look bitter and reluctant when doing the questions. But if he didn't want to study, Obito was indeed studying every day, which gave people a very contradictory feeling. Overall, Nohara Lin is quite happy about becoming Mu Yu's disciple. It's just a little bit worse. Obito sat on the ground and beat the ground wildly unwillingly. Just now, he almost succeeded in outrunning Metkai and crossed the finish line first. It's okay, it was almost this time. If you work harder, maybe you can succeed next time. Nohara Lin comforted her softly. After being comforted by Nohara Rin, Obito was instantly resurrected with full blood. He stood up, patted the dust on his body, and shouted with great momentum, "Kai, wait, I will definitely surpass you tomorrow." Obito, your 35 questions. Mu Yu handed the test paper to Obito with a smile. Seeing the questions on the test paper, Obito's blood that was filled up by Nohara Rin was being deducted crazily again. He took the test paper tremblingly, as if he was receiving the poisonous wine that brings death. Didn't Obito say that you love studying very much? Nohara Rin couldn't help but smile when she saw Obito taking the test paper with a sad and solemn look. Yes, I love studying so much that I feel uncomfortable if I don't do more than a dozen questions a day. Obito nodded and said, resisting the urge to burst into tears. Then you want me to add a little more? Yu asked with a smile. Forget it. Although it's good to do the questions, you can't be greedy for more. Obito refused decisively. Dozens of extra questions every day were enough for him. Continue to practice. Yu tapped Obito with her finger to add drama to her and said. In addition to teaching Nohara Rin medical ninjutsu knowledge, Yu is also teaching Nohara Rin physical skills. Medical ninjutsu can also be used in combat, and has good lethality. If combined with excellent physical skills, the combat effectiveness will not be bad, just like Tsunade. Because it was Saturday, Yu went to Asuma to practice in the Sarutobi clan's residence in the afternoon. Sarutobi Hiruzen didn't seem busy today. When Yu arrived at Asuma's house, Sarutobi Hiruzen was sitting in the living room reading something. Sandame-sama, Yu greeted. Sarutobi Hiruzen nodded in response, then put down the information in his hand and asked with a smile. Yu, how's your summer special training going? It's been 3 weeks, and most of the time has passed. The ninja school's vacation is from mid-July to early September, which is about a little more than a month and a half. It is impossible for students to have no vacation at all and seamlessly transition from school to summer training and back to school, so the scheduled time for summer training is only 5 weeks. The students are very diligent in their cultivation and are willing to learn. Basically, they have made progress. Yu thought for a while and replied. I arrange tests every week to record their growth. I'll go get those records now. Yu continued, and after that, she was about to turn around and get the recording materials. No need to bother, Yu, just bring it with you when you come here tomorrow. Sarutobi Hiruzen said with a smile. But since you said so, Muyu, the results should be considerable. It seems that Konoha will have another special Junin in the future. Sarutobi Hiruzen was going to wait for the 5th week to see for himself how the students were progressing. If it is really effective, he will promote the normalization of this kind of special training. If Konoha is really affected by the war, Sarutobi Hiruzen may even cancel the normal courses for the 4th grade and let Muyu directly help them with special training until graduation. Old man, I think you are really dim-sighted. Teacher Muyu is so good, why don't you just arrange for him to become a Jonin? Asuma, who happened to be passing by, couldn't help but complain about the teacher. I feel that my Junin instructor is not as good as Teacher Muyu. Junin is an important force in the village. It should not only be outstanding in one aspect, but also be excellent in all aspects. Sarutobi Hiruzen explained. Not to mention anything else, the quantity and quality of Muyu's tasks are not up to standard now, far behind. He can be promoted to special Junin because of Muyu's super high teaching level, plus her good strength, which can be regarded as a good candidate for the future. Period. Special promotion. I think Muzuki-sensei is excellent in all aspects. Since you don't go to ninja school much anyway, it's better for Muzuki-sensei to be the principal. Asuma felt that Sarutobi Hiruzen had better abdicate as soon as possible to make way for someone more talented. After hearing Asuma's filial speech, Hiruzen Sarutobi, whose blood pressure soared, rubbed his forehead and waved his palm to signal Muyu to take Asuma away quickly. Muyu understood, nodded and took Asmara to train. When will this child grow up? Sarutobi Hiruzen sighed. Although as Hokage, he does not have much time to take care of the affairs of the ninja school, and Muyu's teaching ability is indeed strong, it is impossible for Sarutobi Hiruzen to let Muyu be the principal, at least the current Muyu is not qualified. Since the establishment of the ninja school, there have been only 2 principals, one is Tobarama Senju and the other is Hiruzen Sarutobi. The establishment of the ninja school is of great significance to Konoha. Even with the improvement of the system, the principal of the ninja school no longer has the power he once had, but it still has some special significance. Unless a certain teacher really made a huge contribution, Sarutobi Hiruzen's only choice for the next principal would be the next Hokage. Sarutobi Hiruzen believed that Asuma would be able to understand his series of actions when he grows up. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.